The new Boost Mobile network is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month for life.
That sounds like a threat.
Then how do you think we should say it?
Unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month for the rest of your life?
I don't know.
Until your ultimate demise.
What if we just say forever?
Okay.
$25 a month, forever.
Get unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month with Boost Mobile forever.
After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.
Hey there, Ryan Reynolds here. It's a new year, and you know what that means. No, not the diet. Resolutions. A way for us all to try and do a little bit better than we did last year. And my resolution, unlike big wireless, is to not be a raging and raise the price of wireless on you every chance I get. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited. See mintmobile.com for details.
Hello, welcome to this. It is the EggChasers Rugby Podcast, the podcast about rugby. It doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. I'm JB, here in the Rugby Dungeon. Let's go with Tim. Hello, Tim.
Hello, JB. You take getting through that introduction very fast, very seriously.
Yes. I just want to get it done so we can get into the meat of this rugby. This meaty, delicious rugby, which we're going to serve up to you all.
The rugbiest time of the year, no less.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. And Phil, how are you?
I'm good. I feel like the pastry, or part of the pastry on this rugby pie that we're about to devour.
Indeed.
Without wanting to take us away from the meat, as you put it, in this pie, the filling, just a very quick update, Phil. How are the raw jeans going?
It's a slow process, I must admit.
Have you watched them yet?
Have I? No, of course I've not watched them.
Good.
I'm
You're
not a savage.
in your membership of the Raw Jeans Society.
No, although I did get a little bit of flat white on them a couple of days ago that I had to brush off.
God.
But it doesn't seem to have had any negative effect. Can you tell where my phone normally sits?
Oh, I see, yes.
But everything else is...
Either that or you have a very... very strange shaped member.
It's a definition of my quads.
That's when you know you're shredded. When your raw jeans show the definition of your quad muscle.
Maybe that's a thing that in fact, I was going to say, maybe that's something that we could sell to our listeners. Predefined jeans for quads. However, we do have apparently some new silk shorts coming our way. Do you know those nice little silk shorts I have?
Oh, yes.
The very short ones from Gibraltar Trading Company. Little shout out to them.
Yep.
Well, allegedly they're making some EggChasers ones. So watch this space.
Wonderful.
Looking forward to that.
Very much looking forward to that. Shall I do a quick bit of housekeeping?
Yes, do that.
Please.
You can always email us. We're there 24/7 at contacteggchasers@gmail.com. There is a bunch of brilliant emails. We get so many good ones, and we're very grateful
loads
for
this
it.
week. I mean, I haven't even bothered going through them all yet. I mean, there's
I've
loads.
been through some. I've been through them, so
yeah, that's your job.
I'll make sure we'll pepper the podcast with them, so get in touch at any point. And for more content, patreon.com/EggChasers. We haven't upped the price of the extras for Patreon in years. It's
No, we haven't.
Inflation busting.
Yeah, it is. Not in a good way for us either.
No, not in a good way. In a very good way for you.
For everyone else, yeah.
But luckily, our members joining is inflation busting.
Yeah,
Yes.
quite.
Exponential growth.
Quite. So appreciate that. I'll also give a shout. You didn't manage to get an ergonomics one up this week, JB?
It's on the laptop. The laptop isn't mine, and as soon as I went to publish it, the laptop went missing. So I've only just seen that laptop again now. So it'll be up probably immediately after EggChasers.
Brilliant. So there you go. You get extra content. Ergonomics is on the way with Mark Evans joining JB for a financial and organisational chit-chat.
There might also be another ergonomics coming in the next few weeks as well.
With a guest.
With a special MP guest.
A political guest.
Who has an interest in rugby, though.
I'm very interested to hear about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
You just got to get... Well, it very much depends on if they can keep the Wi-Fi up in Mar-a-Lago. But if they can, we will have him down the line.
Right, so hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts for that. Also, Beardmore, and Beardmore Financial Advisors
That's us.
are the ones that bring you the Ergonomics podcast. So go and check them out for any of your financial advisor needs. I guess for a lot of people, they're thinking about, we've just had the end of self-assessment tax year, but the end of the tax year is coming up, right? So
It is, Tim. Well done.
It might be that time of year where you're starting to think, what am I going to do how am I going to distribute the profits from my company?
Do you know what the big one is in January? And everyone knows this, but say it again anyway. Divorces, second week of January. Right?
Good for business, isn't it?
Oh, delightful. Nothing like a good failed marriage, is there? Obviously, not my line of work, but for solicitors and whatnot, it's always divorces around now. It's when it kicks off.
So I put
Second week of January.
Yeah, Blue Monday around then.
Yes.
And I'll also just give a shout for my EggChasers Rugby YouTube channel.
Yes.
Which a busy time of year and lots of content going up.
Which I watched one of your reactions from yesterday to the games, and I noticed so I watched that after watching it was is it Virgin, the Irish coverage of the game, and you had twice the number of views compared to the
Is that right?
legacy media. Yes. Doing the post-match chat with Simon Easterby, you had twice the number of views as that.
I mean, it must do their head in. Think how much they spent on that talent, the TV cameras, the lighting, the producers. And there's one bloke in his spare bedroom that's blowing it out the water.
It genuinely blows my mind. I mean, I'm not just saying this to have a pop or anything, but obviously the URC tried having a podcast. And like between whoever did it, who were so-called professional journalists, they couldn't keep it going. Like imagine if we teamed up with like Gallagher Premiership, you would just never stop producing content. You could have whoever you wanted, whenever you wanted them. Like why? How could you not do that? Why the Premiership doesn't have a podcast? I do not know. I mean, if it does have a podcast,
they might do,
and we don't know.
We don't know about it.
Shush! Don't give them ideas.
Well, I do think part of the advantage that we have is not being linked.
I think that's
to
a fair shout.
We can be brutally honest. And fairly honest at the right time, which other people just won't be.
Have to pull their punches.
Yeah, or like
toe the party line.
Well, the episode that we did last week, which we've had quite a lot of positive feedback on, particularly this section on Bill Sweeney, and the good, the bad, and rugby. Maybe one of the reasons why they did get him on is because they weren't going to ask him. There was a large number of questions that we highlighted that they could have, should have, and didn't ask, and that might have been the reason why he would go on there. I can't see Bill coming on here anytime soon.
No, and
text him. Do you want me to text him?
You might as well.
Equally, on the flip side, I saw one little piece that ITV put out where it was honestly like listening to our podcast coming out of David Flatman's mouth. I'm pleased about it. That's not me talking plagiarism or anything. It's just that the worm is turning. The world feels like it's changing. The realignment, the recalibration back to common sense and normality feels like it's underway. And Flats was talking about celebrating the big beasts and that rugby's got too sanitised, and the reason why people watch it is legal violence.
Yeah, which is ironic because he was also supporting. Well, was he supporting it? He was very sympathetic to the high tackle changes, based around that because people like big hits. Like, well, that's exactly why you don't want to change the high tackle laws. But anyway, that's one for another time.
Yeah, definitely.
I will say this: hard week for Aylesbury.
Yeah,
not again.
Like a 50-point loss. It was a bad one this week. Marlow won.
I know. I saw Marlow won. And
London Scottish are back to winning ways. And I tell you what, something linked to this weekend's actual Six Nations. Tom and Ben Curry started their rugby at which rugby club?
Sandbach.
No, you had it right, but not Sandbach. Crewe and Nantwich.
Crewe and Nantwich.
By the way, do you know when they say these lads are from Crewe and Nantwich, how many games do you think Tom and Ben played for Crewe and Nantwich firsts?
Well, they were playing for Sale and England when they were 18.
Exactly.
So like,
it's like Simon McIntyre is for Rafi Quirk is from Broughton Park. How many games do you think he's played for Broughton Park first?
He's played for Broughton Park Colts, but that was it.
Yeah, I think it's a shame that they have no appearances for the first team. I really do. I mean, I guess it goes both ways. It wouldn't exactly be fair to have Ben and Tom, even at 18, playing level. Well, Crewe and Nantwich are not always that good, are they? Like level 7, level 6 now. Anyway, important because...
It would be good, though. Like, as a promotional weekend, send actual superstar players back to their hometown club to play for the first team.
Well, Jerry Collins played second team Barnstable.
Yeah.
And they said he was an absolute gentleman and didn't kill anyone. Because I guess he could just, cruise around at 50%. And one player doesn't make a huge difference, to be fair.
Yes.
Like, you can actually, unless you're, I don't know, I'm trying to think who would make, I mean, they will make a difference, obviously, but they won't make a huge difference.
What position would make the most difference?
It's got to be a tired prop.
But then if there's no scrums,
ball carrying number 8.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Ball carrying number 8.
Carrying number 8, yeah.
Or an absolute mutant second row.
Or would have a very good fly half who just controls the game, gets you all in the right place.
Yeah, but if the people that they're spreading the ball to aren't very good.
But I mean, they could just
kicking. Yeah, the kicking side of it. Yeah,
well,
that's fair.
If the teams are broadly equal, you assume you've got two teams that it's going to be, say, the game's going to end 22-24 without this one player on one side. Who do you drop in?
Well, let me just ask, Didsbury Tock H, how did you get on?
We won.
Great.
48-15.
If you had to take one, forget the standard of each of your players and what problem position, just pick an England player that you can put into your team. You can only take one.
Do you know who would be the best player to take for Didsbury, right? This would not transfer onto...
Well, that's not... I'm not interested then. I'm just...
Ellis Genge.
Yeah.
Genge. Because he would dominate your scrimmage.
Yeah.
He would dominate your carrying.
Yeah.
He'd dominate your defence. He's going to be the fittest. Weenie Antonio would be cool, right? But he's not doing all of the things.
Ellis Genge
is
a great
That's a great shout because he'll absolutely dominate a scrum time, but he would do the rampaging ball carrying that I mentioned with ball carrying number 8.
I think you put him at 8. Ellis Genge playing 8, and also so bloody intimidating.
Yeah, and the kick returns as well.
Kick returns, Ellis Genge, yeah. You put him in the centres. You can do anything with Ellis Genge at level 7. You can't do much with him at international rugby, as we'll discuss later. But, yeah, Genge. So, but actually, going back to do these players make a huge difference? Yes and no. So I played in teams against, I think you played against them as well. Simon Mason, I want to say?
Yeah.
Who played for Coldy, and he played for another team, Old and Selmians. Great player, a tremendous player, but didn't make a huge amount of difference even though he was playing 10. Played again. Wigan had Thomas Luluwai and someone else.
On the flip side, that 40-year-old Tongan number 8 that New Brighton had.
Catty.
He was
good. He was good.
He was really good.
Didn't make a huge amount of difference on his own though.
Wow.
Who's the other example? Sean Long and
Gleeson.
Played for Oral. Didn't make a huge difference. I mean, these are obviously guys who are right at the end of it, but they're superbly talented.
Mm.
Should we talk about some Six Nations rugby?
Do we have to?
We do have to, yeah.
Is that essential?
I'm so excited about this. How good is the Six Nations as a tournament?
It is.
It's like 1883, I think it was, the Home Nations Championship began. There's not much of anything that's that old.
No. There's not, is there? And it's the only thing in rugby that really works, you've got to say.
That and the top 14.
Yes.
Yeah, that works, that is consistently a high standard, that is consistently enormously profitable, revenue generating.
Mm.
Yeah, so is rugby, Mark was speaking about this week, he's like, sometimes it annoys me when the question is, what kind of place is rugby in? Is rugby broken? What's wrong with rugby? So, well, actually, we do have the Six Nations, and that works phenomenally well. And he is right.
International rugby is in a brilliant place, and we've talked about this on the podcast before. We are in kind of a golden age of international rugby. And we talked about this on the podcast the other week. The competitiveness, the number of teams, the quality overall is absolutely brilliant. Club rugby, very different picture, but international rugby is brilliant.
The number of teams that can win a World Cup is as high as it's ever been.
And same goes for the Six Nations, with the exception of Wales, obviously.
Yeah, because Italy are no mugs. I was slightly disappointed with Italy. What game do you want to get into?
Yeah,
where should we start?
I think there's loads to talk about Wales. I think there's loads to talk about England.
There's loads to talk about Scotland, Italy, I think.
Maybe.
I agree. Let's pick one that you want to go with, JB.
Well, let's go with Wales, right? I'll tell you why.
Yep. Friday night.
Let's set the scene. I don't usually get that excited for rugby anymore unless I'm playing or there's something big happening on Saturday. Like, this week we're going to watch England-France, aren't we, Phil? So I'll be excited for that. And I'm going to the East India Club. Thank you, Simon Bright, for taking me down for some rugby dinner. So, this is going to be a big weekend. But on Friday, I was so excited that there's going to be a kick-off at 8 o'clock in France. So Friday night games have got to stay. Now, I don't think everyone should do them. I don't think England should do them.
Paris should do them.
Paris should do them.
Night games in France are so good.
Cardiff should do them.
Yeah. Yes and yes.
I'm not really...
Italy could do them if they want to experiment.
Yeah, England seems to be a day place for me.
Yeah,
England and Scotland days.
Agreed.
Well, this went almost exactly as I said it would go. Almost exactly. Last week on the podcast, I said Wales might be good for 5 minutes. and then they'll get right to the 5 metre line and they'll get panned and it'll be 50-0. Well, it wasn't quite 50-0, so they were slightly better than I expected. And they didn't play that well for the first 5 minutes, so slightly worse than I expected. So slightly better and slightly worse. That's all I'd say about Wales. They are not good enough by a long, long shot. And it's nothing obvious I can do or say which will fix it.
I think it probably is. We're talking a decade.
I mean,
until they're really competitive again.
Yes, but you've got to have the talent coming through, and you just don't.
The backs are good enough, right? I have no doubt about it. The backs are good enough, and I think it's not just one back.
You have no doubt about it.
No doubt about it. I think the backs are good enough, and I think even like the reserve backs are probably good enough. Where they have no hope is in the pack, because they can't bend the line. So the big difference is they can play around a bit, they can make ground, but then when it comes to the big physical confrontation, they get into the 22, they get into the 5 metre, they just can't go over the line, they get melted.
I mean, I agree with you.
Sorry, Tim.
Yeah.
Every try they score, almost by definition, has to originate from about halfway, when everyone's dropping back to defend kicks and there's a little bit of space. That's the only way that they score, because otherwise they're in a world of trouble. Right,
well, yeah, I know, I totally agree with you, but this is exactly where my frustration with Warren Gatland and Rob Howley is you've just identified it perfectly. You've identified, and you're not Warren Gatland, one of the best coaches we've ever had, that there's ever been.
Yep.
You've identified the fundamental limitation in this Welsh team and the occasions at which they are successful and manage to overcome that. And what did that Welsh team go out there and do against France? Nothing. Well, they went and ran into a brick wall and thought that, like, if we just work hard enough, we'll score tries.
I can't think of another strategy for them, though, unfortunately.
Really? I think you just identified it.
I'll tell you why that's not going to work, Tim. Because I think the Welsh plan...
I'm not saying, when I say work, it's relative. I'm not saying beat France, but score
do better.
A try.
Yeah.
Well, this is why I don't think it's going to work, right? Is because I think the Welsh strategy, and realistically the only strategy, was to keep the ball for as long as you could and hope that you can get some sort of offload or fluid game going, and do not give France the ball. I think the kicking strategy is great. If you can put pressure on them, great. But every time France had the ball, they scored. I think the last thing Wales could have afforded to do is have France with more ball and then have a pitch battle against those big French runners.
But it's sometimes like a game of chess. You don't try and get checkmate on move one.
I mean, providing you've got equal chess pieces, which Wales don't.
Well, correct, but you don't try and win with one move. You'll think about whatever, half a dozen moves ahead. And so I take your point that Wales need to keep possession and not give it to France. That's fair. But the problem is, and this is kind of rehashing conversation we had on WhatsApp the other night, France were just stacked their defensive line with 14 men on their feet, and they quickly went, do you know what? We're going to
have the ball.
And actually, what I will say about Sean Edwards has changed France's defence. They're not nearly as aggressive in their line speed de la ligne. They're not nearly as quick on their line speed, and they're not nearly as they're picking which breakdowns they go into a lot more. Consequently, the whole French defensive line was on their feet.
Yeah, they were,
and they were stacked up right across the pitch. And Wales needed to change that picture, and they never. The couple of times they did kick early in the game, it worked really well, because France are notoriously, look at how South Africa played them in the quarterfinal of the Rugby World Cup. Get the ball in the air, because France are not good in the air. And Wales didn't do it at all.
South Africa are so physical. Like, they throw the ball in the air. If they don't win it, okay, we'll set up defensively and we'll ace. If we do win it, great. We're very well practiced at that.
So what you're saying, actually, Wales did the right thing by running a defensive line with 14 men in it?
Well, I was thinking about this. Could France defend Wales with 13 men? Yep. 12 men? Yep. 8 men? Probably. Right? So I'm actually not... I just can't see what the alternative would have been. I look at that Welsh team and I think, do you know when you see some teams you think, God, that's disappointing. Like, they're bickering, they're not in the right places, they're not well coached, they're not trying hard, their basics are all over the place. Wales' basics are really good. Like, they're really, like you said, the French...
Even the scrum was all right.
The Welsh attack were all on their feet. They all ran into the right spaces, and they got leathered because they're not good enough. Like, you look at these boys and you feel so sorry for them, because it's not a lack of effort and it's not a lack of skill.
Wales were robotic. I could say, after about 5 minutes, I could say, they're going to do this move, then this move, then this move.
Yeah, but I just don't. I mean, they don't have a Marcus Smith. It's weird that they are quite good, and yet they have nothing at fly half.
And yet didn't want Gareth Anscombe. Reason being, he's 33 and too old. Oh, let's pick 33-year-old Liam Williams.
Yeah, but Liam Williams is like always available to play. Like he's not like Anscombe. Anscombe's like, yes, we've got a guy for 15 minutes and then he gets injured and you've wasted all week training with him. Like, right, now we're going to go to Dan Thomas. So I think starting with Dan Thomas.
Dan Edwards.
Ben Thomas,
yeah,
Dan
that's right.
Yeah,
That's
thank you. Dan Evans looked all right when he came on.
Edwards, but yeah.
Dan Evans. Oh, my God. Dan Edwards. Ben Thomas, Dan Edwards.
If in doubt with Wales, say Williams.
Jones,
or, just say
Jones.
Williams or Thomas. No
Ben
Joneses.
Jones.
There's no Joneses anymore.
What?
It's Williamses and Thomases.
When did this happen?
Phil, thoughts?
Well, I didn't get to watch this on the day. It was my mum's birthday, so I was doing more important things. And when I saw the scoreline, I would ordinarily go back and watch the full game. I saw the scoreline. I watched the highlights. I was like, I've seen enough. I'm not sure I'm going to get any more from spending 80 minutes watching this than I did from the 12-minute highlights. Entirely predictable. It is precisely what we all thought was going to happen. It happened. The flip side, I don't know what Wales could have done because they just don't have the pieces. Yet, sure, they can try different things because they just tried the same thing over and over. But France just look ominous, don't they?
France look really good. Just very final thing on Wales, and it doesn't need to start a conversation. Just let me pin it maybe for future. Is like, what would Patrice Lagisquet have done if he was coaching Wales, coach of Portugal? He found a way without a physical team. He found a different way to get the ball to edges, to break up the defensive patterns, to create different shapes, kick passes, like American football passes. And he did different things, and it was really, really effective at the Rugby World Cup. So there are ways to overcome some of these deficiencies. What I saw from Wales, they just didn't even try to. And that's what I found disappointing about Warren Gatland. He just seems like he's going through motions.
This is Gatland. So he obviously, in his pomp with Wales, when they had all of those big superstar players that they had over the 10, nearly 15 years that he was there first time around, they often got criticised for playing Gatland ball, which some people said, well, he's making the best of the tools that he's got available. But when he went to the Chiefs, he got criticised for not making the most of the tools when he had some outrageous skill set there and did perform very poorly.
Maybe he's good at doing one thing.
Maybe it is.
Absolutely.
Maybe it is just that is his style, and if he's not got the pieces, and he doesn't really have the pieces here to do that.
No, I think it will come good. I don't think there's another guy who could do better with Wales. I just don't. They tried to go with Pivac, and Pivac did have some interesting ideas.
If I were a Welsh fan, I'd as much as it might have been frustrating then, I'd go back to Pivac because I think the way Pivac had him trying to play would suit this bunch of players far more than the way Gatland's got him trying to play.
They tried, didn't they? And they got absolutely leathered.
Yeah, I know. It's a long road back for Wales.
Rugby is like a pyramid, right? And you've got to get your basics right. So you've got your ruck, you've got your defence, you've got your set piece. You get your basics done, and then you can start to build on that. So when you look at Wales, their basics are quite good. I mean, they are really quite good. But then it comes down to, well, who is going to bet? Look at Aldrit in this game.
Miafu.
They're not even playing the same sport.
Jean-Baptiste Gross, his carrying's awesome.
They were walking over the Welsh line like they weren't even there. And also, when the French got into, I mean, I don't know how much possession the French had. It felt like it wasn't that much.
It was 50-50.
It was 50-50,
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, every time they went into 22, it felt like they converted. So if it's 50-50, Wales with 0 points and then France with 50, you kind of know where the finishing is. So as soon as they had the ball, they just stroll over. I mean, anything less than 50-50, God knows what the score would be.
Well, if Dupont doesn't get taken off after 46 minutes, who knows what the score would be?
46 minutes.
Got to rest him.
He looked furious. Absolutely furious.
Well, he didn't get a try, did he?
Did he not?
Just 3 assists.
Multiple assists, but...
And there was
three assists and more defenders beaten than anyone else in 46 minutes. And guys are ridiculous.
And there was a forward pass in there.
It was. I don't think it was a forward pass.
I think it was a forward pass, but
was there a yellow card for somebody?
Red card for Roman Ntamak, who will probably...
he played a poor game.
Well, yes, in some parts he also showed glimpses that his pace is back. We worried a few weeks ago against the Sharks whether he'd lost a yard of pace.
Did he get injured? How long has he been back for? It's
his first game back for the national
team. He hasn't played for France since 2023.
But he has played
before the World Cup.
Yeah.
What was the game he played where he just turned on the burners and scored last minute? Was it against La Rochelle?
That was in the final, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He
But
won
they smashed
the
it.
final 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago that he scored that try? Was it the
Was it
last
last
final?
year?
So I seem to think he's been back, and his pace.
He's been back this season.
But that when you say his pace was back, I seem to remember that's why I brought it up. I seem to remember him doing that, but that might have been before he was injured.
Oh no, he might have been back in. No, I think he came back in like the part way through after the Six Nations. He came back and was playing for Toulouse through the cup run. Then he got injured.
It was against La
before the
Rochelle.
November. He got injured before Christmas for the November series.
I'm sure it was against La Rochelle. I was like, that's amazing. Watching a superstar do that in a clutch environment, and then obviously they went on to play Bordeaux and they absolutely smashed them. So yeah,
He's only 25 still.
Yeah,
This is the frightening. Right, the frightening thing about France. Okay, Atisogbi 20, Gaeton 20,
Gaeton's awesome.
Jegu Oradou 21. Tavita Tatafu's back in the squad for this week. He's 22, 150 kilo tight head prop.
The winger with the bloody scrum hat, with the little hat.
Oh, Louis Bielbire,
Yeah.
he's 21.
It's 12. Oh, okay.
Yeah, not other way around. He's 21, and so they've got so many young players, and even the players that are their most important players: Malvaca 28, Dupont 28, Ramos 29, Peno 28, Aldrit 27, and Tamac 25. These guys are going to get better, and come 2027, they could be peaking.
Yeah, I think
So
they're going to be good.
That try, the last minute of the top 14 final in 2023. So that was Toulouse 29, La Rochelle 26, and it was the 78th minute that Ntamak scored.
Yeah.
It's
That's
an
the
amazing
winning
try.
try. Yeah. So that was before injury.
Yeah.
Because that was... He then got injured in the... It must have been after that, so it must have been the summer warm-up games because he missed the World Cup.
He missed the World Cup.
Yeah.
Do you think he's there just to facilitate? I mean, he's obviously a great player, but he's there just to play second fiddle. Just get the ball out of your hands. Let Dupont do all the hard work. You're his mate. You know how to handle him. Is that
So
what he's there for?
I think I said this last week. I don't think he's the best fly half, but he has two superpowers. One is playing week in, week out with Antoine Dupont, and two, he genuinely has, or certainly had pre-injury, like world-class pace.
And three, devilishly handsome.
Yeah,
He is also...
he was developing
he
into
is
a
also
world-class 12.
very handsome and cool.
So at one point you would say, okay, Dupont's a world-class 9, and then at 12, he was the 12, and they moved him into 10. Like, is he? Yeah, I mean, it's working great, isn't it? I don't know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
It's working great.
It's
But
working great.
I don't think you can't have the... Well, you can try it. You can't always have the two ultra-flair players playing together, because I think he's a perfect foil with the added ability of world-class pace.
Can I before we move on from France, a nausea tactical little thing I noticed,
Yes, please.
and the law of unintended consequences.
Yes, please.
So with the new laws about access to players, you're not allowed to put someone next to a ruck when someone's box kicking. You're not allowed to put them there in a blocker position.
blocking position.
Blocker
Yep.
position.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I noticed, and watch this, maybe if you go back and watch it again, or when you watch England this weekend, have a look. France stack their forwards up, like stood not in the blocker position, so they're back from there, but they stand them like kind of posts out from the ruck, not in a blocking position, only they end up being in a blocking position because
The 9 takes a step.
Antoine Dupont is running backwards behind them.
Like a sort of J-line almost.
Exactly
Yeah.
that. And they're standing still, so it's not illegal.
Yes.
Yes.
And they're almost like an offensive line with the quarterback just in the pocket.
Could there be a crossing situation there if Dupont runs behind and round them?
It's a good question. If someone stands still, they're not.
But you can still use your player to run behind, can't you?
Yeah. So if a player is standing still and someone runs behind them, they're not blocking a defender from getting to them. I don't know. It's an interesting one, but I noticed it, and it was clearly done enough against Wales. It was like, this is a reaction to the laws and trying to get Dupont a little bit more time. And we saw it was from exactly that he did the crossfield kick to Atisogbi.
This is kind of why I think you shouldn't play around with the laws too much.
I totally agree.
Because they just work out other ways, and whatever time the French coaching setup spent thinking about that, they could have been thinking about other things and coming up with some beautiful line-outs or some beautiful other plays. Instead, because you've changed the original method of cheating, they're now thinking of new methods of cheating.
Yeah.
It's just a waste of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is clever. I like that.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye out for that.
Mm.
I thought this would be a good
Question, just
go on.
one question. Do you know, Tim, if Pinot is likely to be back?
He's in the squad. So France yesterday announced their squad for this England week. Pinot is in. Flamont is still out.
Interesting.
And I thought Roumel was not good at second row.
Yeah, because Flamont wasn't injured.
Yeah.
But Pinot was injured. Was it a toe injury I saw?
Yeah, I think so.
Are they using Ramat as kind of like a walkie type solution here?
Yeah, and they don't really have one. They've got this young lad, Oridu, who plays that role for Poe, but he's 21, he's young, untested. They tried Roumel there because he's kind of does that line-out jumper role on the flank, but I wasn't convinced by him at second row. I didn't think it worked. He had a pretty poor game. So there's an opportunity there for England, but Pinot is back. Who they're going to play at 10 and 15, that's the question.
Yeah, because Ntamack will be out.
Because Buros is not fit, and Leo Barret is not fit. So the other two fullbacks besides Ramos, so either
I think BL Barret would go to 15.
BL Barret goes to 15 and Ramos to 10, or Jalabert comes in at 10.
No, I think Ramos will go to 10.
I think you might be right.
I think they will. I think, given that Ramos has played so much 10 for Toulouse,
and France in November,
in Ntamack's absence,
absolutely amazing, isn't it? Like the 10 position in France. And indeed for Toulouse, is just a collection of individuals that don't play 10. Like, I genuinely mean that.
Juan Cruz Malia has been playing there.
Yeah, Malia. I mean, they just don't take it seriously, do they? Malia, Ramos, Ntamack, Dupont himself. Like, who is the 10?
Well,
one of their wingers is always a fullback.
Yeah, Blair Kinghorn can play there.
Yeah.
Look at the number of out-and-out nines that have played 10 for the national team as well. Like Morgan Parra or Michalak. I know he played a lot of both.
Dupont?
Or Plisson or Dupont. Yeah.
Plisson play 9?
I think he was a 9 and then moved out to 10.
Yeah.
I know the two are
just
more interchangeable.
So unthinkable in England, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it was jarring enough when Furbank went to 10. But to think you just move players into 10 as and when, or like the Leicester Tigers fullback will now just nip into 10 because, I don't know, whatever reason it is.
It's culturally with France, though, isn't it? England is very much, and most countries, a lot of countries, the main playmaker is 10, and the 9 is just there to feed them the ball. But in France, it's very much more balanced. And we said it before on the podcast, if Marcus Smith and George Ford were French, they'd probably be scrum halves.
Yes. Yeah.
Put them to scrum off.
Or fullbacks.
Can anyone name
an
international fly half who's majority fly half who went to 9?
Sorry, say again?
Can you name a international fly half, or as many as you can, who was majority of the time fly half, sometimes at 12, but played internationally at 9? I can think of 2.
Ooh.
So they played the majority of their rugby at 10 or 12, but they played most of their international rugby at 9.
International rugby.
They started an international game at 9.
Now, I can think of one guy. Gitto did it at a high level. There's another one who did it at a lower level. It was for England, but nevertheless, it wasn't a high-level game.
Healy's played. Austin
he
Healy
was predominantly a 9.
9 and then played almost everywhere.
Ollie Barkley had his international debut at 9.
Did he?
Yep.
What?
His international debut at 9.
Oof.
He was 18 years old. He's playing the Churchill Cup, and he played 9 during a Lions year. And then obviously they thought he was going to be the next great thing. Then they moved him to 10, then 12. Although did he play England 10?
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. And he was in the England squad that got to a World Cup final in 2007.
But he wasn't playing 10 then. He was playing 12.
Yeah.
Or was he even in the squad at that point?
He might not have made the. So I remember him playing against the USA in one of the group games.
Farrell and Barkley all rotating, and Wilkinson all rotating in at 10.
Yeah.
Because they had Farrell due to start. I went, it's only a joke. We're going to go with Barkley instead. Farrell at 12.
Go on, give us the other one.
Barkley and Gitto with the 2.
So Barkley. Oh, wow. Sorry.
I can't think of anyone else.
Right then. Ireland versus England. Let's go.
Oh, God.
Phil.
The hope that kills you, isn't it?
Good game, though. I really enjoyed it.
I thoroughly enjoyed the match.
It was a good game.
Okay, so first things first, England's performance in the front five is not good enough. I mean, that to me is where it sort of starts and ends.
Can I say a couple of things like before we get into the detail of the game? Just one thing. I ummed and ahed over whether to actually say this because it feels a little bit snobby. But what the heck, I'm going to say it. Because actually, if you're listening to this podcast, we've been going for 12 years, you're probably a proper rugby fan, been around for ages. I love how popular the Six Nations is.
Yep.
As you said, it makes all sorts of cash, brings the advertisers in, it funds the game, creates brilliant spectacles, it's part of the national conversation. Love it.
And the history is unrivaled.
Incredible. The anthems, the pageantry. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. The one thing you have to deal with as a consequence of all of those positives are casual rugby fans talking with complete authority about things they really don't get. And it becomes quite tiresome after a while.
My dad is this guy. He starts talking about the rugby as soon as the Six Nations happen. Oh, who's going to win? How do you think they'll do? On the other hand, it's the only time really that the podcast becomes mainstream valuable, just to civilians, because people know that I do this. It's the only time people start asking me, oh, how's such and such going to go? Oh, England were good. They actually take an interest. And it's my annual attempt, and I do it every single year, to arrange beers for people in my CrossFit gym to try and introduce them to watching rugby. Brilliant. To get them hooked. And it never works. Everyone gets absolutely leathered. Did you watch that? No, I've got to watch it.
To be clear, that's not what I have a problem with. I'm not going,
yes.
I'm always there in the pubs and now they're full and I can't get a seat.
I hate that.
No, I want every time there's a rugby game on, the pub to be packed. What I mean is, and we saw this in the wake of the England game, you have to put up with football type conversations. England lose against Ireland. How on earth could they lose? The coach needs to go. This is a joke. Borthwick out. They can't even beat Ireland.
No, it's when they mention players should be playing in certain positions and you're not seeing that player. They need to get Owen Farrell back at 13. Who'd sort it out? What? How did this happen? Just players that the problem is, I guess, with rugby, no one knows enough about any of the players to make any suggestions yet.
Have you noticed this phenomena, Phil? You're an England fan, so you'll get it. But the wild negative reaction to this game, I cannot get it.
Who have you?
I've seen some stuff on. I've only really seen it on Twitter, and I'm sure there's been lots of comments on your YouTube videos.
Yep.
Below.
Stephen Jones on the Times.
I've not read the Times. Actually, I started reading one article from a journalist who doesn't know what he's
talking about. Same old England, basically, is what people are saying. Same old England. No clue. They're underperforming.
Well, are they underperforming? I thought it was a good performance. I just thought it was a really good performance.
I did.
There was positives. There were some negatives. Yeah. But I don't like the. I can't get on board with Borthwick out because I'm a big fan of Borthwick. He does a lot of things the right way, and yes, England were not as good at after half time. Ireland were brilliant after half time.
I will say, I'm just going to go back to the Welsh game very quickly. The standard of refereeing as well was not good. So the way the Welsh ref was not good. English game, actually not bad.
There were a few moments that were not great.
Yeah, not as bad as the Welsh game though. I mean, I
can't comment on the overall.
In international rugby, I've seen 2 games, and I wonder if it's because I watch Premiership rugby so often, and I have such high regard for the officials. Yeah, because I do think they do a great. I can't remember the last time I watched a Premiership game and thought that was terrible.
You'll occasionally get one decision that we'll debate, but
it's the pattern of decisions. That's what I don't get.
The overall decision in the Premiership is so much higher than
international rugby
everywhere else. Well, international rugby refereed by Luke Pearce or Carl Dixon or Matt Carley or any of the Premiership boys, brilliant. I don't know, we've said this before. Unfortunately, England can never have one of those.
No. And perfect example. So the Premiership had some of these referees refereeing a game last week, and the views on Ben O'Keefe from, I think it was Leicester and Northampton, far from complimentary.
Yes. Oh, I thought the Welsh referee, I can't remember who it was.
Paul Williams.
It was awful. It was absolutely awful. And just awful. I remember Argentina playing New Zealand in the World Cup, and it wasn't the individual decisions that were wrong. It was the patterns of the decisions and the inconsistency around it. I thought this is absolutely horrendous. and unfortunately it happened again. I mean, it wouldn't made a slight difference to the Welsh results, but you just want to see consistent refereeing.
And I don't think it would have made any difference to the England result, but there were a few moments. There was a couple of scrum penalties.
There was a few back-to-back-to-back.
And there was
It just felt like it was...
the penalty that put Ireland in front for the first time, to go 13-10, was interfering with the jumper at the line-out.
I know.
And you watch the replay...
Doesn't touch him.
There is no contact. No one does anything. No one goes anywhere near him.
The line-out from which they got that was the one that was given for Slade pushing, and... It was like Matt Hansen sort of ran across him. It's like, we're playing rugby, come on.
Yeah.
Both of them were called in, by the way, not by Ben O'Keefe, but by the assistant referee on that touchline.
So we had, here's something nerdy for you, we had an 18-year-old referee this week.
Good lad.
And he's been assessed. I did not know he was 18, by the way. At the end, I said to him that was one of the best games that we've been refed all season, and it genuinely was.
Superb.
So, yeah, he's really good. And afterwards, I went for a beer. Well, he had a Diet Coke.
He's 18.
Well, he's driving as well, but
sensible. Yeah.
So he was saying, have you ever heard of A, B, and C penalties? This is how they're coded.
No,
I never knew A, B, and C penalties were. So he said he said it wasn't a bad performance by him, but he was disappointed by, I think, the amount of C penalties that he gave.
Oh, let me guess. Is this the ones where he could have avoided them had he communicated better?
No, they're not.
No.
So an A is you just blow up and give the penalty. A B is advantage, but the advantage is played through and usually a try is scored.
Okay.
And a C is a failed advantage. And I said, well, why are you beating yourself up over that? I think that's that's fine. Why is failed advantage a big issue for you? And he goes, because in amateur rugby, in professional rugby it's fine, in amateur rugby they look to go for A penalties because you don't have to bring the game all the way back, start it again.
Yeah.
And for the fluidity of the community game, they want more A. They want A and Bs and very few Cs. I thought that's quite interesting.
But I'd almost rather have some Cs because
I would as well. Yeah,
because the Cs are failed Bs. So you're trying to get more.
Another way to have fewer Cs is to
better teams.
Better teams, or be very clear at the start. And on the occasions when I've refereed, I've gone, if you like for knock-on advantages, for example. That ones that would result in a scrum rather than a penalty. Like if you pass it and have an opportunity, or if you kick but you kick poorly, you've got the ball. Play on.
Yeah,
advantage over.
Yeah,
play it really
certainly
short.
for knock-ons it should be really short. Just on that, there was an advantage.
Oh yeah,
it
went out into touch. No.
There was the England disallowed try, or it was never given as a try because it was immediately blown up as knock-on from Mario Itoje.
Like as marginal as you can get.
It was so marginal.
I think it was one of those. My perspective on that was, had the referee gone, I think that may have been a knock-on. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. It's a try. My on-field decision is try, but I want to see if there's a knock-on. That gets given as a try.
Yeah, although I think what he should have done is allow the try, because it was like 3 seconds to run. It's not like a huge... So allow the try.
Amazing little out-the-back pass from Henry Slade as well.
Yeah, lovely.
To Alex Mitchell.
Allow the try and then say, I got it as a knock-on, so it's no try.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
fine.
Can you overturn? And then it's clear. But I just thought blowing up in that situation where it was really marginal was the wrong call. It was it was too soon.
Yeah.
It was an A penalty and it should have been a B penalty.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there was a few not great calls.
I thought this email we've got here from Joe says, and too many England fans / media are delusional.
Yes.
Okay.
But go on. Why in this instance?
That backline was arguably our best, minus Emmanuel Faye-Waboso. And on paper, as well as on the field, it's somewhere between decent and mediocre. Certainly not good enough to beat a top 4 side, no matter what coach we had. So save any meaningful judgment for the big one, England versus Scotland for 3rd place. That's the sort of rational chat you get with our listeners, and I could not agree more.
Well, it is like that is where England are. It's slightly disappointing that that's where England are.
But that is on Caden Murley's performance.
Try and a try assist, but also
Some
I loved him.
howlers.
I thought he was great.
I thought he was overall good.
Trying to run the ball out from your own dead ball line is interesting.
I think he
But
got
that was because of his.
because he didn't catch the ball clean.
Yeah.
He didn't catch it, and that was his mistake. But I think it touched his hand, and that's
Yes.
why he chased after the ball and tried to run it out.
Yes, because it would have been, if it goes dead, it would have been 5 metre
5 metre scrum anyway.
Yeah.
And if he gets
And
tackled,
then when he gets-
it's 5 metre scrum.
When he tries to run it out again, he gets leathered into touch.
I mean, he doesn't try and run it
They
out.
drag him
He
out.
shepherds it to the try line and then doesn't put it down. He picks it up and gets carried into touch.
Yeah.
I hope that isn't the last we see of him because he's got some serious potential at international.
Completely agree. So
totally agree with you.
loads of people are saying he should never play again. I
Totally
think that's
agree.
so wrong.
No, you've
'Cause,
got to
like,
get
he
that
will-
boy straight back on the field.
And he will learn so much from
Yep.
that. Now, admittedly, it's not the best game to get back on the horse against France, is it? But you're marking Pinot this week.
There are not many lads that can match BL for pace, and he might be one of the few that can.
That is true. That is absolutely true.
You want to take your best weapons.
Now, the bigger frustration with me and England's overall kind of shape defensively, it's clear that they've taken the tactic that they're going to... I'm going to use the word hide, but maybe that's a bit unfair. But position Mitchell and Smith out in
wide.
those wide channels.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You can do that, but there are consequences to doing that. And Ireland were clearly smart enough to identify that and have the likes of Bundy Aki running at them. James Lowe is a big and strong enough boy. Dan Sheehan, when he came on, rampaging out there.
Do you think the Bundy Aki try was pre-planned? Because that's what Combs was suggesting. I thought if it is, that's really clever.
I think it was.
Do you think, Tim?
Trying to remember what the build-up to that was. No, it was a few phases.
But he went and
stood.
So
right
I
out
think
there.
he's identified. And like
Create a mismatch.
James Lowe, it was the James Lowe when he ran through Mitchell.
That was a speculative
It was
wide
a double,
pass.
Yeah, it was like a double miss pass. But again, because they've identified that you've got a one-on-one tackle.
I think you might have a point there.
The bit that I was most frustrated by, so on that, it was the Gibson Park try, the double wide pass from Prendergast out to James Lowe, who goes through Alex Mitchell, who offloads inside or passes inside to Gibson Park, who steps Freddie Stewart. I'm not annoyed at Mitchell because I think he's in a tough position. I'm not annoyed at Freddie Stewart.
I think if you're going to tackle James Lowe, don't go around his
You've
shoulders.
got to go low.
Come on,
You've got to
just
go
take his
low.
legs.
You've got to do better.
Ring a steal and all that.
But I'm not annoyed at either of those two. The person that I'm annoyed at in that is Ollie Lawrence.
He doesn't track Gibson Park.
He doesn't do anything. He could have doubled up on James Lowe with Alex Mitchell. He just jogs behind. If you watch,
Tom Curry overtakes him, doesn't he?
If you watch that again, Ollie Lawrence has two options. He can track Gibson Park, or what he should have done because Mitchell had hold of Lowe for 2 or 3 seconds before Lowe eventually breaks free. Ollie Lawrence just jogs behind. He should have absolutely leathered James Lowe and completed that tackle, and he doesn't. Watch it again. Ollie Lawrence is at fault for that try.
Wow.
What was Ollie Lawrence doing?
I hadn't spotted that. Well done.
Was he?
He was jogging across. So he was in the
miss pass.
So it was miss passes. So he was tracking across. There was
It wasn't like coming out of a ruck. He wasn't dazed or anything.
Alex Mitchell was the widest man. Ollie Lawrence was inside, and Tom Curry was inside that. So I looked at that picture and thought, "Oh, England have got this covered." Alex Mitchell makes the tackle. Tom Curry's right there to go and jackal because James Lowe would have been isolated, which is actually what England did quite well. They managed to. Ireland were clearly trying to get the ball wide early. And quite a few times, Ben or Tom Curry were out there waiting and won a turnover.
Oh, the one-handed turnover was one of the great turnovers, frankly.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Just at that, because I think Phil's getting something up. Just on that particular point, Tom Curry, right, in November, how many England fans, and just the fickleness of England fans, how many England fans said he should never play for England again?
I've got no idea.
I
don't know. I don't have a YouTube
loads of England fans said Tom Curry should never play for England again. Look, the amount of people saying this week, Steve Borthwick's lost it, Ben and Tom Curry, what's he doing?
Well, I mean, anyone that knows the Currys, anybody who knows the Currys and have seen them play, knows that if you put them on their field, ferocious things will happen. Usually to themselves, but ferocious things will happen. I have no doubt that they're good enough. Now, the only thing I would say, because I'm trying to cast my mind back to what I think I would have said. I would have said on Tom Curry, we're coming to the end of this guy's career.
So I have said that.
Yeah. We are.
But he was brilliant. But I'm more just concerned that we're not going to see him for much more.
There's no evidence that he's pulling his punches, he's slowed down. In fact, if anything, he's even more physical. Even more. But he doesn't stay on the field, and it's a problem. So that's my criticism.
He played 80 minutes.
Tom played 80 minutes, and he scored in the 76th or 78th minute.
I mean, he did for England this
occasion,
time. But I wouldn't put my house on
I
it.
hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. And the other one, in terms of, like, just thinking, what was the other player? Like, total vindication. Tom Curry and
Slade.
Henry Slade.
Great.
Slade had a good game.
Yeah, Slade's a great player. Just a great player. I don't know what the problem is with Slade. Although he doesn't always perform for England. But there could be other contributing factors for that.
So he didn't have the best November. He was just coming back from injury, and the defensive positioning, there were mistakes, but again, we spoke about this. We have no idea whether it was Henry Slade jumping out on the line when he shouldn't do, or the guys around him.
Well, here's the thing. So the narrative, and it may be true, it's just the narrative that's surrounding the England team following the defeat to Ireland is they were gassed after 60 minutes. It's because of the way that they defend, which I thought they were much more conventional in the way they defended. They attacked every breakdown with the 3-7s on the pitch, and but they weren't doing the old. They weren't flying up with the blitz defence anymore.
Nope,
it was much more conventional. Anyway,
apart from hiding people out wide.
Apart from hiding people out wide.
Is that conventional? What is conventional defence now? Because I'm confused.
Up and out is conventional.
Would you say? Okay.
You off the line quickly, up, close the space, and then move out with the ball.
Except in your 22, I'd say it's up and in to close the door.
Yeah.
But I'd say that is more conventional unless you're doing a blitz.
But just on the defence, so the narrative that is being built is England. It's a fitness thing. They run out of gas, and when you look at the results, that makes sense. Intuitively, you kind of think, well, they faded in the game a little bit. So that kind of that would fit that story. The bits of evidence I would say completely contradict that is the fact they scored 2 tries very late in the game, and secondly, the people that made the defensive errors from which the tries were scored, Theo Dan and Chandler Cunningham South.
Yes.
Fresh off the bench.
Yep.
Yeah. And the Cunningham South one, I think that is so. It's Genge as the guard, he's the first man.
So he
out
can't
of the
move
ruck.
from that position.
No, he has. There's the 9 threat. Genge was in exactly the right position, and then there's 3 Irish players looking at the gap, and there's 3 English players. But Cunningham South leaves like
he's on the outside man.
It's 6 or 7 metre gap.
Yeah, so it's not on.
It was. If he was 2 or 3 yards closer, that try doesn't get scored.
Yep. And on the Theo Dan one, it was 60 metres out. So England are defending in Ireland's half.
Conan break through the middle.
Conan breaks through the middle, from which you get that Bundyaki try.
Or is that the Sheehan try?
Sheehan try, correct.
Sheehan try,
Sheehan try. So, and Sheehan's the guy that tips the ball to Jack Conan.
Yep.
Tom Willis is on Dan Sheehan, has his man. Theo Dan is one man outside and is on Jack Conan. Henry Slade is the man outside that. Theo Dan just bites in, and Tom Willis and Theo Dan
take one player.
Massive big hole appears, and Conan goes straight through the middle. And those 2 English players were fresh off the bench. This talk of fitness, I'm just not having it. And this is the sort of duality of the difficulty Steve Borthwick's in. Before, it's like, well, the bench is too old. We need young guys on the bench. And now there are actually people going, we just picked too many inexperienced players on the bench.
The front rows aren't good enough. I mean, that is that. It's not about experience. It's about
are you good enough?
Raw quality. However, I have thoughts.
Well, it's only really it's tired prop more than anything,
and loose head. I mean, now you've got Genge, who's not a world class scrummager at all in any way, shape, or form. No, maybe he's a world class player in some way.
I thought he had a good game.
Yeah, and I thought he got 1 penalty against him. To me, it looked harsh.
Yeah, and that was in that period where Ben O'Keefe was pinging England. Repeatedly.
There's quite a few collapsed scrums. I looked at him like, that's coming from Genge. He's just not strong enough. I mean, he is a serviceable but not dominant scrummager. And I think sometimes you need more than that. In fact, often you just need to be dominant. You just need to win everything. Anyway, here is my thoughts. So it's very trendy at the moment to criticise and comment upon so-called bomb squads. And you know when you see the whole South Africans jogging on in one
6 Frenchmen going on was pretty cool.
It's so cool. First of all, it's cool, so shut up, right? So that's the first thing I want to say. Second of all, I don't think people understand what's going on. So Wales had a situation where their front row was on, and all of a sudden all the fresh front rows come on, and the commentators are just as bad as fans. They go, ooh, fresh front rows, this is going to be bad. They're really going to suffer now. And I'm thinking, they don't know what they're talking about. And the reason I say that is because if you've been on, you know when you're squatting big weights, right?
Obviously.
I mean, what other kind of weights are there? You don't just rack up your 1 rep max and then start squatting, do you? You just don't. Right, you've got to work into it, and it's the same with scrimmaging. Scrimmaging is literally as hard as you can. You can't warm up for scrimmaging on the bike, right? You can't run up and down right and fit to go. You have to scrummage.
It's like a back squat on your toes.
Yes, it's like some horrible devilish mix of back squat, wrestling, and deadlift all in one go, right, against multiple people, and you've got to do it immediately. And also, not only that, the first couple of scrums in any game are usually where the front rows are trying to work each other out, and also work out not the guy opposite them, but the guy next to them. You sort of need to work out how he's binding, what you're doing. It's not simple stuff. So anyway, the French front row came on, and that for me was the only time when the Welsh seemed to have any kind of idea what to do at scrum time, because your front row is bedded in, they're fresh. Sorry, they're bedded in, they're experienced against a fresh front row. And the similar stuff happened against England. So, and also, you see it with South Africa. So they come on, and they are amazing players. But even they need a scrum or two to
actually, now you think about it, I remember thinking on that first scrum when Thomas Clarkson came on for Finlay Beelum, like Genge properly got into him.
Yeah, because he's ready to. I mean, he's already warm. He's already good to go. So anyway,
but then there was a collapse just after that. Yep. Genge and Clarkson, and Genge is the one that gets penalised.
Once they're bedded in. So actually, the game you've got to play is who brings on their front row first. And here is my answer to that, right? Which is, if they bring their front row on in, say, 40 minutes, you keep your front row on, but maybe you introduce a tight head lock or a couple of flankers to add a little bit more energy, because you can scrummage probably pretty aggressively on the flank from fresh, just not at front row. So bomb squad shouldn't be met by bomb. In fact, that is the time where you need to go and score and exploit the new props, not the other way around. I think they've got it completely wrong.
Interesting. Well, on that, it's a good point to bring in this email from Henry Appleby. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com. Says pod blah. I have a quick question. England and Borthwick seem to have the timings of their substitutions predetermined. This is something we heard a lot in November.
This has been an accusation levelled at multiple English coaches.
Multiple coaches, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yesterday, yet again, we saw Mitchell taken off when he was playing really well, resulting in a large drop-off in quality at the base on what felt like a predetermined 65 minutes. In contrast to Gibson Park, who played till the 75th.
When the game was over.
This seemed even more prevalent in the autumn, with Smith being taken off or moved to fullback when he was by far the most effective difference maker at 10. Do you think Borthwick needs to be reactive and less planned with his subs?
Yes. I think there's multiple things to be good as a head coach. So selection is different from coaching is different from strategy, and then strategy of the game is different to execution of bringing your subs on. So you've got all of these different things, you've got to be good at all of them. It wouldn't surprise me if Borthwick isn't that good at this. And also it just makes you think, doesn't it? Are those 4 different jobs that different people should do? Rather than saying, is there one man who has all of these requirements? Because they're completely different. Stuart Lancaster, we need to talk about him later.
We do.
I always talk about Stuart Lancaster as being a phenomenal coach, but a terrible selector.
Yes. And just not good enough for that big role.
Yeah, nothing. He's not tactical. I mean, maybe he's tactical, but he's not strategic. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, you want someone who can put it the other way. In the NRL, they have interchanges, and I love interchanges. I think we should have.
They do it in the top 14.
Do they? Now this adds a whole new element of complexity to the game, and I love it. And they always say you want your best team finishing, not your best team starting, because that's when the points are scored. In fact, that's exactly where the points were scored in this game, wasn't it? Yeah. So England got a try or 2, maybe.
Well, I mean, Ireland's were scored they scored those killer tries between 64 minutes and 71 minutes.
Yeah. And so the last quarter,
the try in the first half was last 5 minutes of the first half.
So like last quarter. So realistically, why are England not playing their best players in the last quarter?
There's an argument when you look at Ireland's bench, the experience they had on that bench, Dan Sheehan, Jack Crowley, Jack Conan, all off the bench. And I know he's a bit of a spent force now, but the experience of Cian Healy, Ian Henderson,
Conor Murray. Massive amount of experience.
So much experience.
Yeah, I think that's vital, absolutely vital. So anyway, where was I going with this? The NRL, they obviously take their substitutions very seriously because there's a lot more strategy behind it, and maybe that's what Borthwick should be thinking about. You want to extract every percentage point of value that you can get.
Oh, Phil's just got up the clip of the low try so we can watch Ollie Lawrence.
Let me do this. Let me see.
I think you spotted something I haven't heard anyone else say.
This is an innovation.
I haven't heard anyone else say, and I didn't see it myself.
Right, watch Ollie Lawrence in this.
Okay, that's...
Okay.
Here we go.
Gibson Park, ball out the back, ball gets wide, missed pass, looped pass to James Lowe.
Ollie Lawrence there.
What is he doing?
He just jogged. So if we go back here, so watch him here now, jogging across. So he could go to there, and he doesn't jog. He's
still jogging.
He jogged the whole time. He didn't recognise.
Even when the tackle was busted open, he didn't change pace.
So here, if we just pause it here, he looks like he's about to burst into stride, and if he goes there, he smashes Low probably into touch. He ends the whole break there, but he doesn't.
What concerns me before you hit play? What concerns me is once Low does break free, there's no change. There's no reaction.
He's wrecked,
so if we go there, so he's jogging there. He's a yard away there, and Mitchell is really struggling.
Do you not think he's expecting that tackle to be complete? In his mind, he's checked out.
Yes, but so that is what's happened.
Yeah.
But the most frustrating thing is he's not seen the mismatch, or he's not recognised the threat of the mismatch. And in this, where he's jogging, you can see Mitchell is already struggling and falling off the tackle. But equally, at this stage, Tom Curry's right there, or Ben Curry, whichever it is. Tom right there, who's got the threat of Bundy Aki. He's like just jogging behind as if there's like going to be an offload or something. He's doing precisely nothing, and then the break, jog. And
he ends up, so he starts he starts closer than Tom Curry and closer to his own try line. He ends up about 10 or 12 metres behind Tom Curry.
It's really not good, that. And I thought, besides that, he had a really good game. He made excellent breaks, lovely offload for the... it wasn't the Caden. It was it was the Tom Curry try.
Yeah, personally, I mean that wasn't good, but I thought he was one of England's better players.
Oh, he was.
Completely agree. Yeah. But that try in a 5-point game,
that was a try that broke England. I think
it was, because it's 5 minutes to go in the first half. England up to that point had nilled Ireland with 10 men. They'd nilled them despite the last 20 minutes in the run up to that. It was predominantly Ireland in territory and possession, and that is the try that broke England, got Ireland back into it.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
That is very disappointing. Well, there's an email here from David Heathcote. Thank you very much. Contact EggChasers@gmail.com. He makes a bunch of points, which are all basically pointing out the limitations of the England team. England's attack coach, Richard Wigglesworth. England's attack coach is Richard Wigglesworth. Therefore, it's highly likely our attack will be poor. Freddie Stewart has never been good as a last line of defence. Our starting back row is made up of compact fetchers, and the replacements are not, so we're going to have to change our approach at the breakdown in the second half. Ben Early's currently not in form. England play conservatively until they're forced to score and play more rugby. Our midfield partnership's not working. Our line-out will struggle due to the size versus Ireland. Having lost our head of strength and conditioning and witnessing the blitz for over a year, we aren't fit enough for the full 80. Our defence coach has little or no pedigree. All of which, so without sort of delving into those too much, I want to combat a lot of these negative points, some of which may have some substance, some more than others.
I think some definitely do.
Which ones do you particularly think have substance?
I think Ben Earl is not great.
I think Ben Earl's a wrong selection.
I think Ben Earl's a brilliant player. He's not in great form. I would say that.
He's not in his best form. He's also the wrong selection with dual Currys. You know, you need a Tom Willis. You need a bigger man.
I thought the three of them worked. They did what New Zealand did in and Australia, to be fair. Australia and New Zealand both had those those type of back rows, and it worked really well against Ireland.
Anyone who thinks Tom and Ben Curry are compact needs to go and meet Tom and Ben Curry because they are not compact. They might not be 6'4". I can tell you right now, they are not compact men.
Yeah.
So, maybe he's just Ben Earl's just not on the greatest of form. But still,
yeah,
I have no problem with the selection. I don't have a problem with the selection or the back row.
No, I don't overall, but Ben Earl's not in great form. I agree with the point that Freddie Stewart's not good enough as last line defender.
Yep.
He does. So I think this is an interesting point in this game. He does have other enormous advantages. His size and his ability in the air. I thought Ireland did really well with their kicking. So they kicked quite a lot, but they very rarely.
Not in the early stages.
No, yeah, they didn't.
They kicked way too deep.
Well, no, but so they managed to take out Freddie Stewart's main ability.
Yeah,
so they very rarely kick to compete, which so many teams, it's a main part of their playbook these days.
Shout, that.
And Freddie Stewart's so good at it, they took that out. So I think some of those kicks that were too deep, I think that was actually part of their tactic. They'd rather do that than kick to compete and have Stewart.
And it worked out well when they chucked bombs on Caden Murley.
It did, yeah. The other point I would say, England play conservatively until they're forced to by the scoreline to play more rugby. I would add one extra thing to that, which is England start very well, play lots of rugby.
They did play a lot of rugby
early on. They get into the lead, and then they play conservatively until the scoreline. So it's. Yes, but there is a slight extra bit to it.
Yeah, that's where the confidence, I think, does come in.
When I see
Smith,
Marcus, just dancing through the line like they did in the first half, I think there's no issues here. But
they only did that until they went ahead.
Then they settled down a bit.
They absorbed a load of pressure.
They did absorb a hell of a lot of pressure. A hell of a lot towards the end of the first half.
Yeah,
like a worrying amount.
That is another narrative which is bubbling, and I don't know what I feel about this, but people are starting to say Marcus Smith is fantastic, but he doesn't grab games by the scruff of the neck in those sort of scenarios. So
I just think
starts games brightly, but he hasn't ever pulled England through a game. And I do think, for what it's worth, I don't necessarily think it could be correlation and causation. I do think, for all the things he's not able to do that Marcus Smith is able to do, I think what you've just described, as in, we've got them on the ropes here, put your foot on their throat and let's go for it.
Keep playing the way, it's working.
Who that's English and has worn 10 has that kind of mentality? Marcus
Smith.
Really?
I would say, if you want to carry on attacking, Marcus Smith. If you want to, control the game, there is one guy.
I'm not saying I want him back in an England shirt, but what I'm saying is that mentality that you're talking about, as in we're ahead, right, let's just defend this lead, rather than, no, come on, let's go, Owen Farrell.
That's not the Owen Farrell I recognise as such. I mean, Owen Farrell will take his chances
just
when he gets
purely in mentality. I think that is Owen Farrell.
So I think the guy,
if they're behind, he's like, I'm dragging you with me. We're getting back.
Yeah, look, he's got some interesting leadership abilities, without doubt. But I would say
sounds like a euphemism.
I would say that if you want the guy who just never stops.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey there, Ryan Reynolds here. It's a new year, and you know what that means. No, not the diet. Resolutions. A way for us all to try and do a little bit better than we did last year. And my resolution, unlike Big Wireless, is to not be a raging and raise the price of wireless on you every chance I get. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited. See mintmobile.com for details.
Attacking. I think the problem is they are told to stop attacking or stop going on the offensive. And it's kind of like is that
a bit of a cop out?
Kind of, but so it's like telling Finn Russell, right? We're just going to control the game now. And it's like, no, we won't. We'll do exactly what Finn Russell wants. You said Mark Smith has never pulled England through a game. I'm just thinking about it. I don't think he's ever pulled Harlequins through a game. They just go and win by a load of points. And I think that's what they need to go do.
Bristol semi-final, some of those comebacks that they consistently do.
Yeah. But like that's not sort of keep the scoreboard ticking, we'll kick the court. It's not sort of planned, meticulous. Do you know when you feel that you're just building back into a game, you kick some more points, strike move here. It's just safety's off, let's go and play. And that's what he does. And I think maybe if you try and constrain him, because he isn't Owen Farrell. Owen Farrell's far better at building a lead, building a strategy, that kind of thing. But just let him play. Just let him play. Don't try and constrain him. So I think there's some validity to the point that England are conservative and Mark Smith isn't necessarily the guy. But that can be fixed within England by just telling them to be more
be less conservative.
And do you think that would pay dividends in Test match rugby?
Well, let's give it a go. I mean, look, you've got a situation in Test match rugby where some of the best teams in the world get to being the best teams and they throw it all away at the altar of wanting to be more expansive. So, example, South Africa, best team in the world. They are the best team in the world. Best team probably the world's ever seen. And they're like, oh, shall we open up the playbook now and be a bit more expansive? Okay, so everyone wants to do it. I'm saying for England, just scrap being the best team in the world part. Just go and do that.
Wild.
Bit. Yeah, just go. I mean, will it
do you
pay
think
dividends?
England have the players to do that? So
I do actually. Yeah, I think if they
might as well. I think they do have the players to do it.
I mean, they don't have the players to be big set piece animals. Like Genge can run and offload. You know, Baxter has got great hands. You know, the whole back row can run. You know, they've got some amazing pieces.
Yeah, I guess it sort of fits in with the point I made about Wales, as in
they could play.
Understand your limitations and try something different.
England could play Wayne Pivot style rugby. I have no doubt about that. With the players that they've got,
at times they did. The one where Ben Earl made that break, that lovely flat.
Yeah,
there was a whole phase where England ran it
fantastic.
From inside their own half, and it must have been about 10 phases. Every single phase, there were hard running options, there were out the back options, there was deception, there were people going through holes. It looked brilliant when England were playing like that. So yeah, I'm not against that actually, but just overall, all of these, if we just do this, England will suddenly be winning. If we just do this, if we just pick this player, if we just play like that.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I will combat all of that by asking one question. You're Simon Easterby, you're playing next weekend against Scotland. Which England players would you replace an Irish player with?
I think they would take a Curry, without doubt.
Probably take a Curry on the flank, yeah.
They'd probably take Morrow. I thought Morrow was good.
Yeah, they take Morrow. Let's say Morrow and Tom Curry in the pack. Yeah. Anyone else in the pack?
No, you got to say who you're getting rid of. So Morrow over Ryan, Curry over Ryan Baird.
Okay, so 2 in the pack.
Yeah, no one in the front row.
You're not taking Alex Mitchell. Would you take Marcus Smith over Crowley or Prendergast?
I would take Marcus Smith.
Yeah, I think I would.
I thought Prendergast. He made a couple of mistakes, but I thought he did have a very good game.
He had a good game, and I thought Crowley had a better game.
I tell you the guy who I think Ireland would be interested in.
Yeah,
would be I can't remember what's the bloody winger called.
Freeman.
Tommy Freeman.
Yeah.
I just think he fits them because I was thinking, what do Ireland like with their wingers? They like sort of not wingers, but guys that can do other things for them, like kick a ball.
Yeah.
So
winger plus
something. Like Hansen can really play rugby. So I think Freeman.
I don't think next weekend they pick Freeman over Hansen, but I think he
wouldn't.
So okay. So this is my point. You give Simon Easterby, you can pick any players you want. He takes Maro Itoje, he takes Tom Curry, and he takes Marcus Smith. Right. That is absolutely my point.
I would also take, and you will not agree with this, I would also take Ollie Lawrence over Bendiaki. Whether Simon Easterby would do that, I don't know, but I would do it.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
I would not do that.
I would not do that.
So let's say 2 out of 3 of us say no. So we'll consider that. But that's the point. You have an Ireland team, and you keep 12 Irish players, and you put 3 English players in, and yet many England fans think that England have underperformed if they lose to Ireland by 5 points away in Dublin.
It's a good way.
Absolutely mental.
There was a couple of times when I was looking at Kelleher and seeing him from behind what's through the ball, and I was like, bloody hell, that's a massive man. Like he's a big slap. Boy. And the other one was the shot of the Irish back row binding on second. I was like, good Lord. Like
Josh van der Fleer is a machine.
Yeah, Van der Fleer.
And like the English back row are great. they're big boys and they could get bigger.
But Doris
looking at them, I was like, oh, I'm bored.
Doris and Ryan
Baird.
Doris and Baird are absolutely enormous.
They are.
And both of them can run as well.
And also the question was, which players would you pick for Ireland in the way that Ireland play? Well, I would say England need to maybe play slightly differently.
I can get on board with that, but I guess the two things are true. One, how can you possibly have any expectation? Like you might think if we play there 10 times, England might win 2. Or 3. 3.
It's an interesting one, because if you go back historically, England would probably be, so say pre-20, I feel like 2015-16, or they beat the All Blacks in 2016, and then they had a successful tour to South Africa a couple of years later, or the year after. I feel like pre that 16-17 era, you'd expect to win maybe 4 or 5 out of 10.
Yeah, fair.
And I also think
lucky to get 2.
And this isn't a cop-out, but I also think this England team just will improve.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
But the age profile of it. Look at the age profile of the two teams. Ireland have the oldest team in the Six Nations,
and they play like it as well,
comfortably. 29, which is about the similar. Well, South Africa won the Rugby World Cup with an average age of 29 in their 23 for matches, and England's is the equal youngest with Italy.
Is it
or with France? I think it's England and France and then Italy.
One other bit that was frustrating for me watching, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. Ireland had 23 out of 23 successful lineouts.
Yeah, they did. It was a problem for them in November as well.
It was, and Kelleher, whose arrows have not always been the best, but he's, as you say, JB, he's absolutely enormous and very solid around the park. Sheehan, who's obviously been out for a while.
What a player.
Who came back.
What a player.
If he's been out for 7 months, and this is his second game or third game back.
He came back, played 1 game for Leinster, scored 2 tries.
Yeah. 35 minutes for Ireland, scores
unreal.
1 try.
The guy is unreal.
Absolutely unbelievable. But the thing that frustrated me, England hardly competed hardly put a man up in the lineup. So I noticed this early on, because England forced 2 kicks through that forced Ireland lineouts in and around their own 22 very early in the game. If that was me, and I'm not a forward, I'm not a lineout specialist by any stretch, I would want to be putting maximum pressure on getting 1 or 2 jumpers up for England to make it as hard as possible. They just let Ireland have the ball every time, and with the new law, it doesn't even need to be remotely straight. They just need to hit the man.
Jumpers up, right? So I've always thought this. I've never ever been able to execute this in level 7 because we've never been organised enough. But I'm pretty sure they could do something like this at international. So you have your jumpers defending middle and back. Okay, only middle and back. And you tell your opposition you're defending middle and back. You're very clear about this. We're defending middle and back. Now, I suspect the way they combat this is they go to the front and they drive. Yeah. So then they suck you in, right?
Yeah.
But you advertise, we all go middle and back. So if they go front, they want to go off the top, you lengthen that pass. At that point, when you've lengthened the pass, you should theoretically be able to get a flanker from the tail of the scrum to the fly half as quickly as you can, or multiple players. So in effect, what I'm saying is give them the ball. Give them the ball that you want, and let them take the ball backwards for you, and then harass them when they've taken it. Why not defend once they've given you the yardage?
Yeah, well, England didn't even do that because they didn't compete at all.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, you sorted?
Yeah, I'm sorted.
Yeah, England didn't compete at all at almost any line-out. It was definitely more than 50% of the lineouts, and lineouts in key parts. Like, I can understand not putting a jumper up on your own 5 metre line.
Chesson did a great steal, and it was given a free kick for closing the gap.
Yeah,
really.
But hardly ever.
Which he might have closed the gap, but it just felt a bit pedantic.
There were so many where England just didn't compete, and it seemed like a waste.
The play selection was weird, like shortening it down to 4-man for reasons unknown.
Well, yeah, I was gonna mention that on the lineouts. I think you make a really good point, Phil. I think in close to their own line, I understand the point of putting someone up to put the pressure on. But England's maul defence was actually quite good.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a trade-off that you go, well, okay, we're going to let them have the ball, but we back ourselves to keep them out.
Yeah, I'm fine not putting men up.
Yeah,
in
but
5 meters or
generally
10 meters
speaking, and
out.
especially coming into the game with Kelleher starting, and he's been under pressure. Yeah.
Early on, the pressure's right on.
Yeah.
He's got a key line on his own 22, and not to put anyone
Yeah,
up.
that's crazy.
With the new laws, with the new laws as well.
Totally agree. On the England side of things, because they did make a selection of 3 sevens in the back row, and that's the trade-off as well. They got a lot of positive things out of that. One negative was the line-out, because it meant they had to go for the shortened line-outs, which by its very nature, when you got 4 men in, that means there's 3 extra Irishmen in the defensive line. There's not as much space. When England looked really good, it was at the start of the second half. Tom Curry had just done that. They kicked to compete. Tom Curry did the one-handed turnover.
Yeah.
England kicked to the touchline. They have a full line-out, which they win in the middle, and
that's one where Maritoji takes his time getting in a little line-out.
Yeah, Maritoji takes his time getting in. There's 2 pods either side of him, and it's a really lovely line-out. And it's quick ball off the top, but because Ireland don't have that men in the back line, Ollie Lawrence gets ahead of steam.
Yep.
Quick ball, and that's the one where it's given a forward pass from Alex Mitchell, which was never a forward pass.
Yeah.
But England were motoring, and Ellis Genge gives the offload over his shoulder to Will Stewart, and they're 5 metres out from their own line. And that was the turning point in the match, because it was from that scrum, from that forward pass, quote unquote, it was not forward. That scrum is the one that they got given a penalty. They went to touchline. That's the one where Marrow. It ends up with Ireland being on our 5 metre line.
Yes.
About a minute later.
Yeah.
Big moment. But from a line out, and just goes to make, but it underlines your point. Having an extra line out forward on the pitch enables you to take up more defenders.
Yeah.
By having a full line out.
Yeah, compete a bit more.
Which is what I think England will do against France.
Yeah, I think they have to.
So on that, what changes would you make if you were Steve Borthwick?
I don't think I would. Maybe get the extra line out forward in. I'd certainly want to be competing more with the line out, even if throw a Curry up, throw Alex Mitchell up,
do the player
throw Tommy Freeman up,
the player
Freddie Stewart,
throw him and Freeman as line out jumpers. They'd be dynamite.
Perfect. Do you know who they've never replaced?
Owen Farrell,
George Cruz.
Yeah,
that's the one they've never replaced. Like, if they had a monstrous second row, bring him in tomorrow.
I really like Itoje and Martin. I think they're a great combo.
Martin's good. I mean, he's not. You just want someone who's absolutely monstrous.
I think George Martin is that guy.
I'd put him on the flank.
He takes names. I think
he didn't have his best game though.
No, not his best game. But I'm not going to judge him on one match. Just generally speaking, I think he's that combination's great. I think Ollie Chessum will come in on the flank.
Maybe, yeah. He's such a good player. Yeah, maybe that might be the answer. I don't think I'd be in a desperate rush to change anything.
And I think probably Tom or Ben Curry might start on the bench, and that's not them being dropped. It's just tactical matchup for France.
Well, back to Tom, Ben Curry and Crewe and Nantwich. There was a reason I mentioned them right at the start of the podcast, because they are currently in the relegation fight in level 6. And if they go down, it means that we can't go up unless we win the league, because our league only promotes 1, not 2. So that's the end of that story from right at the beginning of the podcast. So we'll be keeping we'll be supporting Crewe and Nantwich now vigorously until the end of the season.
I don't understand why that would affect, because wouldn't they just rejig the league?
Yeah, Crewe and Nantwich will go into the Midlands leagues. So then they won't need us to go up. If that makes sense. They'll just mess around with the leagues again. So
seems a bit unfair.
So we will have won a league twice with...
Yeah. Was one COVID?
So the COVID structure.
So it's only so the first position goes up regardless, and the second position depends on
not always,
geography.
because we've won a league which is outside of the structures. Then we didn't get reorganised into the league that we wanted to, and then we won a league with no promotion. Then we came second, but it's worked out that if you're second in a poor league and you win all but 2 games, you go up. Whereas if you're second in a good league, like we were, and you don't get enough wins, it's like 7 out of 12 go up. So, yeah, we would love to go up. Love it. Anyway, that was that. Other club news. Shall we just do some club stuff?
Go on. Before we go into Scotland.
Well, I tell you what's remarkable, truly remarkable. Leicester Tigers losing Michael Cheika.
Well, it's been rumoured for a little while, hasn't it?
He only ever signed a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
Why have him then?
Yeah.
Leicester Tigers have got to get a real grip now, because they're having fly-offs go in and out.
It's all right. Big Stu's around.
Well, that's the other bit of news which we might. They've had fourth coaching session now. So Borthwick came in after Mark O'Connor. Borthwick left. I mean, depending on if you count Wigglesworth.
Yeah.
You count him as the head coach.
Yeah.
Then you've got the failed whatever his name was, Dan McKellar. And now you've got Chika, and now he's gone, and they're going to have to do it again.
A fifth.
It's just not good enough if you're looking to win titles, I don't think.
Yeah.
And then you've got the fly half who is constantly changing because it looks like...
Yeah.
Is Pollard officially going?
I think so, yeah.
I think it's announced. That's the guy you need for 4 or 5 years. I mean, that's what you need him for. Yeah. So that's really disappointing. So they have to do that as well. So they're gutting their team again. Dan Lancaster's available.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that's the biggest bit of news.
Yeah.
What is Scotland and Scotland and England are in a tug of war over Dan Lancaster,
Goodness
and now
me.
who knows where Ealing's former fly half is going to turn up.
Well, weirdly on this one, okay. As you well know, I was very suspicious of Stuart Lancaster's ability to be successful at Racing. And this week, unfortunately for Stuart, it's just sad that people lose their job in the first place. He's been kicked out of Racing. Now, okay, he's made plenty of money there, and I don't feel that sorry for him, but I kind of do. He still lost his job. It's not great. He just isn't a very good selector of rugby players, basically, is he?
It's the DOR rule. It's that top rule. Evidently a great coach, and good at bringing talent through.
Yes,
but not the. But whatever you need to be in that top job, he doesn't have it.
He doesn't, does he?
No.
So he said, his words, "I am in contact with Racing every single day when he's still at Leinster, sorting out the squad for next year, of which some of the key pieces just departed.
Yeah.
They've just 100.
Sia Khaleesi,
best part of $1 million worth of salary cap has departed.
Yeah.
And you think, oh right, okay. Did you select him? Did you say that was a good idea? Whoever's culpable for the Sia Khaleesi transfer alone should be fired.
Has to be Stuart Lancaster.
It's hilarious that the last team he selected, the last team that Stuart Lancaster selected, 10 Owen Farrell,
12.
13 Joshua Tuisova, 12 Dan Lancaster.
We can hide him here; no one will notice. Yeah, it's just not good enough. By the way, I mean
that is unbelievable.
Owen Farrell's taken some names. Charlie Atkinson dead. Ben Spencer's career dead. He's killed off Stuart Lancaster twice now. Cipriani dead out of rugby. I mean, who else is going to come in contact with Owen Farrell and lose their career? Who's next?
If you go to
Arundel, dead,
gone. Walkie can't get near the front team.
No, dead,
gone.
If Owen Farrell doesn't like you,
Sia Khaleesi,
he's even destroyed Sia Khaleesi,
2-time World Cup winning captain,
dead, gone. Go play number 8s for the Sharks or something. See him, mates. Throwing his stuff out the change room. Get out.
I do think it's going to be interesting. Basically, Farrell has to step up now and steer that ship.
He must think, what is this? What have I signed up to?
Yeah.
The Saracens runs like clockwork.
The stability of Saracens, even allowing for the accountancy issues that they had for a couple of years. But they've been so stable, that Saracens.
You're just surrounded by competence all of the time. And then you're at Paris, and superficially, it looks amazing, doesn't it? What an offer.
Yeah.
And actually a disaster.
Yes.
Now, at this point, you might think, well, JB doesn't think much of Stuart Lancaster, but maybe Leicester Tigers and Stuart Lancaster make sense. Because
why not?
They've got someone who brings the players in, so he can't mess that up. Like, he can't be just... I can't imagine Leicester Tigers signing off the Dan Lancaster signing. I can't see it. Right? So...
Didn't they sign off the Ford?
That's a very, very different prospect. I would sign every single member. Every club the Fords have been to, right? You have to sign at least another member, right? I'm pretty sure Mother Ford had a job at Bath doing like transitional work.
The Fords are like the Bidens.
Yeah, exactly right. they're very similar. So you've got
a package deal.
Yeah, no one needs Dan Lancaster. That's harsh. Someone needs him, just not Paris.
Yeah. Yes.
But Leicester Tigers have a load of kids that they can bring through, and they do. They've got a great academy. That might be. They just need someone to coach the team and coach it well. And you can do that.
So, thinking of the role that Farrell might be going into, because I'm certain Farrell will go into coaching in 3 or 4 years' time whenever he retires. I think it's actually a role that George Ford is currently doing. So George Ford is obviously in the England squad. He's actually...
like mentor type role.
Well, he's actually a contracted player in the England squad. So he's the third choice fly half, but he's a contracted player on the central contracts. And I actually think that is so he can't go in as a coach doing a coaching role because he's a player at Sale Sharks, but he can go as a player doing a coaching role under that central...
Players at Sale Sharks rave about his input.
Yeah.
They rave about it.
Every time, I've watched multiple videos with him talking about drop goal, the spiral bomb, coaching videos, and he's so good. So I actually think he's in England and a centrally contracted player more for the coaching input.
Yeah,
or at least split. At least that's some added value you get.
He definitely,
He's a backup. If one of your 10s goes down, he's straight in. You can trust him.
Yeah, he is the third choice, but he would be there in that role if he wasn't the centrally contracted player.
Yeah.
So I think he's
got you.
I actually think he's there. And you watch the little England videos that they put out. He's talking as much as anyone else. He's talking as much as Marrow or Genge in the captaincy roles. He's talking as much as Marcus Smith, who is the fly half and decision maker on the pitch. He's so instrumental.
That's really interesting.
And he comes from a coaching family.
He certainly does.
Also, if you ever speak to Joe Ford, I've interviewed him, rugby nerd of the highest order. He's now head coach at Doncaster, I think. And then there's Jacob Ford, who I think is also coaching. So they do love coaching. Yeah. I imagine that it's something which they talk about quite frequently. Not dissimilar to the Farrell household.
Completely. Yeah. So it's just interesting to see him brought into England as the third choice centre on a central contract, because I think he's there as much as a coach as he is a player.
Back to Owen Farrell now. Okay.
Yes.
I think the smart move for Owen Farrell is to really see if you can make something out of Racing. Not for the obvious reasons that you're going to win something, but for the better reason that you might get a job afterwards with a lot of money. Because I don't see him nailing down a job at Saracens unless it's like because they're so well established. They're not just going to bring back an ex-player to be head coach. They're not that sort of team. He might come back as a kicking coach and have to do all of the hard work of earning the top spot at Saracens, but it'd take a decade. It might take 2 decades, right? Because that's just not how they are.
Yeah. He would come in as he would be kicking and skills,
yeah,
or defence or attack. He'd be one thing and then slowly get...
I could see him getting to the top of the Paris structure really quickly. I just think it's a different beast.
But also that's maybe not a good thing. You want to take more
depends,
of the...
bank balance or, how do you want to look at this?
Well, short term or long term.
Yeah.
Like if you massively fail in the top job now, your long term bank balance will be worse.
He's not going to stay in Paris.
What do you think he's going to do?
I think he'll be coming back soon.
Do you?
Like next year, maybe.
Leicester Tigers?
I think that's definitely possible.
I think that's possible. I think the fit's a strange one, isn't it? Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I can't imagine Owen Farrell settling in Paris. I don't know. Maybe I don't know the guy that well. I've interviewed him a few times.
I'd say stay at Paris because, well, you know. I know.
Are you doing it in French?
I know. Where's it gone?
L'opportunité, c'est after the norm.
Brilliant. I can't get enough of that. There you go. And that's exactly where Ronan Agara started at Paris.
Well, that's what
fair.
That's the route.
And I would have said exactly the same about Ronan Agara.
Well, and that's the route that I think Farrell and Ford, who I think will both be coaches long term, it's the route that they should both take. They should not go and try and do the linear, I'm going to be at one club and become head coach there. They should get as much experience from around the world and go and work under Robertson or Eddie Jones or O'Gara or whoever it is. Go and work with the best coaches.
Yeah. Sanderson's got a really interesting career path. Really interesting, because obviously he's at Saracens and that's cool. He's doing the head coach or DOR, or whatever. I'm not sure his job title. I'm going to say DOR.
Yeah.
Or head coach, I don't know. But of course, before that, he was under Eddie Jones, who he's got a really weird relationship with.
Yeah.
At the Reds.
Where did he go to the Reds?
He was assistant coach of the Reds.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's done it the hard way, and I guess there's a lot of utility to that.
Yes, definitely. And there's other, like, look at Jeff Parling. He's out.
Yes,
Australia line-out coach.
Is he now Australia line-out coach? Because he was out there. Was he at the Rebels?
That is like one of the players everyone forgets was a Lion.
Yeah, 2013.
Yeah,
he had a 3 or 4 year period where
Leicester Tigers, Lions.
Right, I'll tell you what.
Newcastle.
Quick Lions question. Right,
yes.
so I'm going to be doing some work.
Oh, sorry. One last thing. Worcester Warriors have got planning permission for something or other, and also are about to receive permission to go to the second level of the pyramid. So Worcester Warriors back in the championship. They're also interviewing the head coaches.
So this is under the new structure because they're trying to do it. What do they call it? P2 or Premiership 2 or something.
Well, it's still going to be called the Championship.
Is it?
But, yeah.
But in the new, because the RFU were accepting tenders for that, weren't they?
I think this is. I understand why they're doing it. I guess just for pure rugby and the England rugby team, it's probably a good thing. I think I just think it's morally wrong.
It's awful.
It's like bailing out banks and then letting them and then not regulating them and
they've also
recouping any cash and letting them do it again.
Got a planning application, so proposal outline application with all matters reserved except access for a mixed use redevelopment at 6 ways comprising of a new north stand with associated event centres, esports facilities. What's that? A PlayStation, food and beverage concessions, yada yada yada. So something's going on there. Something is going on. But yeah, you're right. Look,
it's not right.
It depends, doesn't it? What do the rules say? If the rules say you go into liquidation and then you go back to P2, then it's fine. But they don't say that, do they? So, look, if Macclesfield cannot make a game to go down to Redruth or wherever they're playing next, if they concede more than 3 in a season, or same with Kenilworth, same with all these clubs which are under a lot of financial stress and strain, they go to the bottom of the pyramid. Right, we're not talking about bankruptcy. We're not talking about making everyone redundant and closing down your operation and being in liquidation. We're talking none of that. Just not being able to fulfill fixtures. You go to the bottom of the pyramid. So what you're saying, Tim, is actually correct.
Yeah.
Like if those clubs are under that sort of pressure, why are you inviting Worcester back into P1 or P2 or whatever the hell it's called? Same for Wasps. Go to the bottom of the pyramid, work your way back up. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it either. There's nothing wrong with it because
other clubs have done it.
Yeah. Not only have other clubs done it, you can literally go down and help your club, right? At level, what an opportunity! If Sale Sharks,
opportunity, save rocking an arm.
Yeah, exactly right. Like if you were at Sale FC when they started coming back up, I mean, yes, you'd have got paid a lot of money, I'm sure, but also very, very exciting, really exciting. And this would be exciting too. Like, if you're a young rugby player, you happen to like Worcester, you can go and play for Worcester Warriors. That's amazing.
And what would the RFU do if something similar happened with the same club again? Because they've already done like, well, you can't. But what about last time? No, but we mean it this time.
Yeah, I mean, it is a new player. It's just the same name. It's the same. They just want the brand and the name in, really. So that's why they've tried all sorts of weird things like merging with another club or. All sorts of nonsense. They just want the brand more than anything else. But how much IP is... how much is the IP of Worcester really worth? I mean, when's the last time you're at the pub and there's a clamour to see Worcester Warriors?
It's actually just the stadium. It's just the fact there's a ground there that they don't have to build. That's it. And I get it from that perspective.
It's not Real Madrid, is it?
No.
We can't lose Barcelona. It's Worcester Warriors. And that's nothing... Not knock against Worcester Warriors. It's just a statement of fact. Nobody is clamouring outside of Worcester Warriors fans for Worcester Warriors to be playing high-level rugby again. Go to the bottom, work your way up. It's fine.
Worcester Warriors only exist because of a rich benefactor. It wasn't sustainable because of the number of people that wanted to come and watch the rugby.
Fan base though. You can't
it was a
deny
decent
that.
fan base. I'm not knocking that.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. Like Doncaster are trying. It would just feel wrong to me.
It is wrong.
If Worcester swan back in and then they hop up and Doncaster don't get their shot, and they're actually putting the infrastructure in. So anyway.
Yeah, the only way it would be right is if before they went bankrupt, it said you go to P1. And then everyone can thrash it out in the various meetings and whatever else that goes on in council, and you can come to the conclusion which is right for rugby then. But you can't do it retrospectively. It's not on. Particularly when you're threatening other clubs like Macclesfield or Kenilworth or whoever else it is, right? You will get relegated.
I mean, in your league, the way Glossop have been treated, it's ridiculous.
I don't actually know the full story to that, which is weird.
For what, it doesn't really matter. It's not important to get into, but other clubs have been given suspended points deductions for like things like not fulfilling games or an ineligible player or some bad conduct with a Colts team or whatever the case may be. They go, right, there's a bit of an issue there, and if it happens again in the next 2 years, we're going to hit you with points penalty, which is what they do in a lot of cases. They just gave them massive points deduction without any warning or suspended deal. So Glossop had to start the season knowing they're going to get relegated, and then you've just you've wrecked the fabric of the boys. Exactly that.
Yeah, so they're currently on minus 2 points in our league. I think they've won 2 games. Would you show up? I don't think I'd show up. Being candid, I think I'd go, right, I mean, at my age anyway, I want to be as competitive as I possibly can. I wouldn't be showing up for a lost cause. And I think a lot of guys would be thinking that, like, well, we're going to get relegated. We're not going to go up. Why? Do you know what the points deduction was for?
I can't remember, so I don't want.
Was it for some sort of pitch side fracas or something?
So
I can get the full story.
I can't remember what it is. I was having a conversation about it the other day. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say and speculate because I don't know. I can't be certain. Sorry. So I'll just say it was for something. But anyway, so when it suits, the RFU are willing to have black and white rules that no, it's written down in the code, so that's what we're doing. No bending of the rules to just help a club sustain a team for the season and help a community keep their rugby club going. No, rules are rules. Not interested. Rules are rules.
Well, you saw what happened.
Except when they're not.
You saw what happened when you tried to do like a local Manchester tournament. No, you can't do that.
We're not a tournament. A local league.
Well, why? Because we say so. We say so. That's why. It's our power.
Yeah.
Let us have the power, please.
Anyway, that local rugby section. Oh yeah, that's one question I was going to ask with Lions, right? So there's I'll explain the bit of work that I'll be doing soon. But anyway, it's Lions related. But if you had to pick, right, from the last 4 Lions tours, you had to pick a player to sit around a round table for a conversation, and you could have one player from one tour, one nationality. So the last 4 tours,
okay.
So you can only have one Welshman, one Scot, one Englishman, one Irishman.
Yeah.
But they had to, between them, represent the last 4 tours, which is 09, 13, 17, 21.
Yeah. So I'd go, because there's some obvious examples that come up. But it's a lot of the people who already do punditry, so like Brian O'Driscoll or Jamie Roberts or Sam Warburton and those. But I'd go for someone a bit more niche. I wouldn't go for the.
I was thinking 13, like Jonathan Davis, because he was the one that got selected above Bod.
Yeah,
and that's quite cool.
That's a good shout.
The one I would do, if you're, and you'd have to back yourself to do this, right? To be a really skillful enough interviewer to get it out of him, and if you get it out of him, I reckon you'll cover ground which no one else has done before. Lee Halfpenny has been selected for 3 tours, right? He must have seen loads of things. Now, the problem is he doesn't talk much. But if you could squeeze it out of him, because no one's really heard anything which he's had to say, because he doesn't talk. But that's the guy that I'd love to interview and get to know better, because he's undersized, he's small, he's been to 3 tours. He was the rock of some of Gatland's best teams. He's still playing now at Harlequins, and when he does play, he looks ace. Yeah, want to be Lee Halfpenny.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Can you make it work?
You'd need a whole day to try and gain his trust to squeeze a little bit of juice out of the lemon. Whereas, alternatively, as a Welshman, you could just go, let's get Andy Powell from 09.
Yeah. I mean,
pull the cord on the back and just let him go.
Yeah.
But we've heard everything Andy Powell has to say, like everything. So
yeah,
there'll be that.
And there's often not a lot of sense comes out of Andy Powell anyway. So
yeah. Do you know? Andy Powell just makes me sad, actually. when I see him now. So don't have Andy Powell, because that's just not a great advert.
Get him to wear the white suit that he wore on his wedding.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would like Tom Croft. I think would be a good shout.
That's a shout.
So two tours,
Good shout,
2009 and 2013.
Good shout.
So just back to Andy Powell. Apparently he was a very, very good trainer. So
I don't doubt that.
Yeah, he trained hard. He also likes to drink hard. We don't doubt that either.
Yes, no doubt.
So the story goes something like this. He went out drinking with Steve Diamond, right? And he's one of Steve Diamond's favourites.
I'm in.
Yep. So far, so good. Shows up hungover, but forgets his trainers, and they're doing a 5K. The only footwear he has is his lifting shoes, and does 5K in his lifters.
God. Like, that you'd probably be clumpy, like wearing clogs.
Oh, I love my lifters. I'm not running in them.
Oof.
Who else would I go for?
Oh, you could get some of the, the Geography 5.
Oh, well done, yes.
Corey Hill.
Get the Geography 5, just the Geography 5.
They're all Welsh, weren't they?
Yeah.
Corey Hill.
Can't remember any of the others.
With the hooker, with the long hair, wasn't it?
Oh, Hibbard.
No, Darcy.
Darcy, Tristan
Darcy, something like that. Was there a scrum half in there? Maybe
I can't remember who they are. That's a good quiz question.
Gareth.
Name the Geography 5.
Was Tom Court in the Geography 5?
I think he might have been.
He might have been called up, but maybe that was different.
What about Andy Nicol?
He's way before those. Way before those.
Yeah, it was 2001. But do you know why? Because he was the kit man and got put on the bench for the third test.
Incredible.
There is, Tom Court was on holiday there. Tristan Darcy, Corey Hill, one of the
Here we go. Yeah, Kristen Dacey.
Dacey, that's a boy.
Alan Dell called up as cover.
Alan Dell.
Thomas Francis.
Who?
Tommy Francis.
Okay.
Corey Hill. Gareth Davis.
I knew that. Yeah, I knew there was a scrum off in
there. Finn Russell called up as cover.
That's not quite, is it?
I don't think he was on holiday there.
No. So some of these are called up earlier in. It's not got the section I'm looking for with those players. Who else would be good?
Irish and Scotsman. Irishman and Scotsman.
I mean, Finn Russell would always.
Luke good. Fitzgerald got gouged by Scout Berger.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Keith Earl. He did more than one.
Keith Earl's not a bad shout.
Yeah, it's a decent shout.
Keith Earl.
Anthony Watson might be a good one for the English one. He got the. I'm thinking of stories because he got the
Sonny Bill Williams
shoulder to the head.
He did, didn't he?
Face neck area.
No, I'm just trying to go through all the players.
To make switching to the new Boost Mobile risk-free, we're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
So why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Because you have nothing to lose. Boost Mobile is offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
No, I asked why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Oh.
Wouldn't.
Because you love wasting money as a way to punish yourself because your mother never showed you enough love as a child?
Whoa. Easy there.
Yeah.
Applies to online activations. Requires port in and auto pay. Customers activating in stores may be charged non-refundable activation fees.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Liam, do you know Jonathan Davis is a really good one, actually?
Yeah, Davis is
I'd
a
like
good
to.
shout.
He must have spoken about that.
He's another quiet lad, though. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not massively talkative. You don't hear much from him. Yeah, go Jay. Yeah.
Jeff. I mean, he's in Australia, but Jeff Parlin's probably not a bad shout.
Well, with the fact that the Australia thing makes it more interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point. Scotland, they'll probably do pretty well on the Lions tour this year, but on those previous tours,
no, it's usually only Ross Ford. There was a while when it was just Ross Ford.
Yeah, Stuart Hogg then has had multiple, although less favourable for interviewing now.
Why don't you try and get Stuart Hogg? We know he can talk. He's got some interesting stories.
Get a beer in him.
Oh, and he won't stop talking.
I did with TalkSport last year. I did a whole Six Nations thing. It was this time last year. It was with 10 of men, and we did a Six Nations panel thing. It was massively popular. Went like massive on YouTube for about a day. TalkSport were like, "This is doing great numbers, brilliant. We don't normally see this from rugby." It was Stuart Hogg and Lewis Moody and a couple of others. Anyway, and then of course the Stuart Hogg story came out, and they just pulled it. 10 of men went, "No, take it down."
No,
they went off. Yeah, I still got paid. So that's fine.
Well, that's the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you who would be good. Scott from 2009. I'm just flicking through the squads now.
Yeah.
Nathan Hines.
Shout
again with the Australia link.
Yeah, Ashley and Aussie.
Yeah.
And started.
Yes, started
and lives locally to here as well.
He works for Gallagher.
Yeah,
Gallagher Insurance.
Does he?
Lives in Cheshire.
Yeah, I speak to him. Well, I've spoken to him when he's at Cell Shocks.
Interesting career, obviously. Aussie, Scotland, played in England, played in France,
and Leinster.
Leinster, yeah,
might have won a European Cup. Leinster.
We should go from Nathan Hines. Mentioning Nathan Hines, that's perfect segue into Scotland, Italy.
Scotland.
We haven't even mentioned this game.
I know.
Yet.
I enjoyed this game.
Yeah, I did.
I was disappointed at Italy, though, because... So I was telling a couple of people when I was chatting in the week about asking a few questions, like kind of like you, JB, with your family, asking a question about the Six Nations. I was saying Italy are a lot better than a lot of people think. A lot of people give them credit for. I don't think they'll win this game, but they've got a chance. They should beat Wales, and they've got a chance of upsetting... certainly England, but maybe not Ireland and France. But they're a good team. They've got a brilliant centre partnership. They've got a great front row. Canoni, the number 8's class. Their back three is awesome.
Yep.
Like Capuozza, Allen's
got
solid.
all the pieces.
Yeah, they've got everything. And then for the first 30 minutes, they just did not show up at all. They were so passive in attack, so passive in defence.
That's Italy, isn't it? That is Italy.
But then, so they were so poor for that first 30 minutes. And then they actually after that, they started playing. They brought it back to 19 all. But it was, you can't give a team with the quality of Scotland 3-try head start and expect to win. And
that's it. So Scotland will be looking at that going 14-0, was it? At one
it was
point?
14-0.
14-0.
19-6.
Yeah. So Scotland will be saying, we were 14-0 up. How on earth did we let that lead slip? Oh, you're all right?
Whoa.
You okay, mate?
Yep, to make sure that's still recording.
He's okay.
Smash the laptop off.
14-0 up. And so Scotland will be saying, how on earth did we let that lead slip? And Italy will be going, how did we get it back to 19 all and then not score another point?
Yes. And that, the two Scotland tries, so when it was 19 all, couple of bits of magic from Darcy Graham.
Right, so... albeit we didn't have skin in the game, we're not Scottish or Italian, so that does change how you feel about things when you're watching it. But I was watching it at 19 all, and despite it being 19 all and going, oh, cool, game on, just from a neutral point of view, I never really thought Italy were going to win.
No, and Italy got back thanks to 4 penalties and then the intercept try.
Yeah.
Scotland scored 5 tries.
By the way, that intercept try, was that... I don't know. It was almost like Finn Russell was just doing it for bants. It was like I'm
so telegraphed.
Brex has gone out. I'm looking at Ignacio Brex as I pass him the ball.
The pass is not on. I cannot see any of my players.
And we know how fast Finn Russell's mind works. He could. It was so weird. He stood still. Oh look, there's Ignacio Brex. There you go, Brex.
Pass.
There's the ball.
And he cantered in from 50 yards.
Might be the worst intercept. The worst pass for an intercept I've maybe ever seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it made it interesting. But like you say, Darcy Graham.
Scotland have got too much firepower to give them any significant lead. So obviously Duan took a knock and didn't perhaps look himself, but was still rampaging. Darcy Graham's brilliant.
Kinghorn.
Hugh Jones, Kinghorn. They're excellent. They've got so many options. And then you've got...
Rory Darge was good.
Darge was great. You've got the Ferguson boys. You've got Jack Dempsey coming off the bench. Like, they've got a lot of firepower in that Scotland team. So Italy did all right, but if Italy hadn't conceded 3 tries in the first 30 minutes, it would have been a much more interesting game. And they were so passive.
There weren't enough tears during the national anthem. That was a problem. They need more tears. More tears, more chance of winning. More tears, more points.
Absolutely. But Scotland played very, very well. Overall, they will be a handful for England. I think Scotland are going to beat England.
Do you?
Unfortunately.
Oh, at Twickenham.
Last four games. I just can't see. So, one of the things I think with Scotland, I think with England, Scotland have got more caps, they've got more cohesion in that squad than this England team currently do.
And they have that cohesion, same as Leinster, because they have a lot of players that play together a lot.
Players playing together, but also I really think that Scotland, when they play England, every single one of those players plays 15% more aggressive, better than they do.
Oh, I'm nervous about that already. What about anything to add on Scotland, Italy?
Absolutely nothing, no.
JV's just gone up to get a margarita.
I have.
Looks like a margarita.
White Russian?
It says BCAA with ice.
BCAA with ice, of course.
Yeah.
You are looking massive at the moment, mate.
I am working on very, very hard.
You're looking like it.
Bloody heavy. So I need to lose some weight before the Open. Very strong.
Is the Open coming up soon?
Yeah, it's like next couple of weeks.
Whoa.
So, I've got to lose some weight because my gymnastics is not really on point, but my squat's great. So one of, swings and roundabouts. Do you know why I drink this?
BCAA, branched chain amino acids.
It's got nothing to do with anything, any kind of benefits.
Muscle building.
No, it's because I don't like drinking water, and cordial's full of sugar. But BCAA actually tastes quite nice and makes water palatable.
I did have some cramp issues last year when I was running, so I have the salt tablets. They're like Science in Sport ones. Yeah,
they tried to sell me some of these in a conferencey thing once, and the poster boy for it was Manu Tuolangi.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they said they did all these tests on Manu Tuolangi. The reason he's getting injured is because he was cramping and yada, yada, yada. Now they're giving him salt tablets. And then we didn't see him again for another year.
See, there you go. He's down in Bayonne where they have lots of salted meat, don't they, down there, down in that part, the southwest France.
Mm-hmm. They certainly do.
Near the Iberian Peninsula, they get all that lovely ham, salted ham. That's why he's got no issues with cramp.
What was the reason that Juan Smith got fit again? Was it because of the salted springs of Toulon?
It must have been. The sunshine.
No, I mean, that's the only thing it could be,
He wasn't getting enough vitamin D in South Africa.
No, that's exactly it. There wasn't enough sunlight, was there?
Yeah, must have been.
They don't have their own springs in South Africa, so God knows what he was doing. Miraculous recovery. Miraculous.
What about this weekend's games then?
Well, I tell you what, I've got such a good weekend planned. Such a good weekend. So, yes, I'm going to the East India Club for some dinner or lunch on the Friday. I'm going down to London from Thursday onwards, basically. My whole weekend starts on Thursday, which is going to be superb. We are going to, I think, Rick Stein's place in
Mortlake.
Is that what it is? You've obviously looked this up, have you?
I know.
You're going down Thursday, Friday as well?
I'm not. Oh. I've got to work Thursday, Friday, and Claire is working Friday night, so I'm on a train at like 9 a.m. on the Saturday morning. Yeah, sadly, I only get 24 hours of fun.
I'm also going for lots of beers with lots of clients too. Yeah. So it's going to be great. It's going to be absolutely... I can't wait, actually.
It's all expensible then. Legitimately.
Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, it is.
It is, yeah.
It's just great. I'm going to be going... So, got lots of people to see on Thursday, got lots of people to see on Friday. Have a few more beers on Friday. God knows what state. I'll see Phil on Saturday morning.
Pop into HQ, see Bill.
Yeah.
For a catch-up.
Yeah. Which one? Dollar Bill or Bill Bowman?
yeah. Rich Bill or slightly less rich Bill. With friend of the podcast, Dave Mack and Tom, which will be great.
It's looking forward to that.
It's going to be a great weekend.
There'll be loads of construction chat.
There will be a lot of... Bloody hell with those three, yeah.
Yeah.
And the friend of the pod, Ben. So, yeah, it'll all be very, very good. Very good. Can't wait for it.
Wonderful.
And the games...
Are you down London?
Maybe, yes.
All three of us.
Maybe there.
Well, what do you do if you go to Twickenham?
Well, on this occasion, ordinarily I might be in the media room, but I won't be on this occasion. I'm waiting to see if there's a ticket for me that I might be able to get.
Why would you not go in the media room?
Because there's a deadline for accreditation.
Well, you didn't get it, or you didn't apply?
I didn't apply for this game.
You're not?
I was saying to Phil, because I do a lot of travelling around and have done a lot of travelling around watching rugby, and I know it sounds... I feel guilty when I do this, right? And let me be... Because we're at this point of the podcast, I'm imagining that most casual listeners probably aren't still listening, and this is only the real committed ones, so I'll speak honestly. When I used to work on the Premiership, it got to the point where the novelty of being at games had worn off, and I used to watch certainly the first half of matches quite often. Not all the time, depends where you were. Depends which ground you're at. Obviously, there's some grounds you're like, no, I want to be there and in amongst it. But on really cold nights, I'd sit in the inside with my little headphones in, listening to commentary, watching it on the telly.
Do you know, I never get bored of going to games.
Cup of Bovril?
Oh, hang on.
Cup of Bovril.
Let me get it straight. I never get bored of going to games when I've got access. So I never go to a game, or very rarely do I go to a game to watch it. I go and watch it on TV afterwards. I go there to meet everybody. And I love it. I will go and meet and say hello to as many people as I possibly can. Gather as many phone numbers of coaches and players, and just say, just see who you can talk to, and the conversations you can end up having. Like, my favourite conversation in a game was trying to introduce Matt Proudfoot to Matt Postlethwaite, right? And then just find out Matt Proudfoot loves rugby even more than I do, and he was just tremendous to talk to. And you find all of particularly the coaches. Like, some of the coaches are, John Callard's one who I don't really like. He's incredibly rude, or at least he was to me. When I asked him a very simple question. But some of them are really, really nice, and they just love talking about rugby. And if you're not, trying to get a headline out of them, and if you are genuinely interested, you get loads out of them. It's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
I guess maybe it's the fact that kind of I've engineered it so that I'm trying to make as much as possible, and I guess it is my job now to chat about rugby close to when games actually happen. I can't switch that off.
Yeah.
And so I actually quite enjoyed this weekend, just being at home and being able to do it at my leisure, have everything there around me.
The actual game itself, I watch it live if it's a big game and I'm with, say you boys, that'd be phenomenal, because all the dead space you can talk about the game. It's only worth watching a game of rugby live if you're watching it with people that understand it next to you. Otherwise, you watch it on fast forward, don't you? Or on slight delay. Oh my God, that dog's barking. And it's the game in. About the stadium, sometimes if I get tickets to go and I have to watch the game live, throw it in the bin. Just throw it in the bin. I don't want to do that. I want to go around, like at Sale Sharks, they used to put us in the tunnel, and you could go and talk to anybody. Talk to the physios, like the amount of stuff the physios will tell you was unbelievable.
But I said at the Rugby World Cup, didn't I, that on that amazing quarter-final weekend, I watched the first quarter-final in Paris, in the port in Marseille, had a brilliant night, but didn't really take in the game at all, Ireland, New Zealand. And so I watched France, South Africa in my camper van. Yeah. Because I didn't want to miss the game.
I watched...
Call me a rugby nerd.
Pretty much all of them at home, and watched, get everyone to bed. It's just me. I'm going to watch this intensely and really enjoy it.
When I went to Japan, simply the worst rugby watching I've ever had in my life.
So they're trying to watch it after 5 strong zeros.
Yeah.
It's inhumane trying to force us to do that.
Sometimes you could do it, right? But you would go to the pub and the game would kick off. I don't even know what time the game would kick off, actually. I have no idea. But I remember going to a deep cellar pub.
Yeah.
And watching back-to-back games, and that was great. But again, you're getting quite drunk, you can't remember it. But watching it in a pub with the boys that have gone to watch and knowledge about rugby and talking to fans, that's a tremendous experience. But actually going to the games themselves, I could not remember a single thing. And that, even if I wasn't drinking, I wouldn't really remember a single thing. The other time you remember a lot is if you're lucky enough to do some comms. So I did comms for BBC, and you remember an awful lot because you've got to talk about it. So it's like a learning reinforcement mechanism.
As for the games,
fixtures this week then.
What order are the games in? Is it Italy-Wales first?
Yes. So 2:15 on the Saturday, Italy-Wales, which we will presumably be watching in Rick Stein's place.
Yes.
With some delightful seafood, oysters and champagne.
Italy-Wales. All this weekend's games are dynamite.
So
Aren't they?
it's put me down. Italy are going to win that.
Yeah.
Italy.
What time's that kick off?
2:15.
Oh, that's big.
Wonderful. Wonderful stuff.
Italy Wales. Then the game that JB and I will be at. You might be
I think I
knocking
might
about.
be there.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing a little corporate gig at the Stoop.
Ooh,
Excellent.
What time's that?
Well, I don't know the details. That's what I'm trying to find out, and I want to try and get a hold of it. I want to try and get hold of a match ticket as well. So I'm working. I've got irons in fires. Hopefully
Excellent.
that comes off.
So that's 4:45. So are we all saying Italy win?
Yeah.
England.
No, I'm not.
You saying Wales?
Same Wales win. Brex, Menoncello,
Yeah, go on, give me Wales.
Capozzo,
Ooh. Come on, Italy.
Lamaro, Negri.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
I'd love to
Cannoni.
watch that with Dave Mack with Italy winning.
What are you going to wear for Saturday?
Undecided.
Full kit.
The last time I went to Twickenham and the last time I went to Murrayfield in the last couple of years, first Six Nations games, one of my overriding memories of both of them was just being so damn cold. Just being sat down outside in complete shade in a concrete monolith for 2+ hours, constantly with an extra chilled pint of Guinness in my hand.
Yeah, that doesn't work well, does it?
I
Google,
was so
what's the
cold.
weather in London next Saturday? Oh, it doesn't speak to me.
Yes, I'm going to go very nice and loud for my dinner, for my lunch on Friday.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all sorts of loud colours. And then next day, I don't know if it's going to be jackets or...
Ooh, so the weather I've got in front of me, it doesn't get above 4 degrees in London. It's clear skies.
It's a long range forecast which can change, but but it's like 4 degrees, 4 degrees cloudy and dry.
Yes, which I'll take that, but I need to wrap up warm. So maybe some long johns. Might treat myself.
Ooh, nice.
So England, France. Does anyone think England can win?
I think they can win.
I think they can win.
Give me the scenario where England win. What do they do?
England win. They pick Ollie Chessman in the back row.
Yeah.
They pick Tom Roebuck, maybe on the bench, but maybe to start over Murley. Not because Murley's bad, but just because let's go for massive guys. Chesham, Roebuck, Freeman, Stewart are all in the team. That sorts your line out. You can really double bank and put massive pressure on France's line out. And you can just kick the shit off the ball.
Yeah.
Put up the bombs on BLBRA. Put up the bombs on Ramos. Put up the bombs on Peno. They're amazing players. They're not good under the high ball.
Yeah.
Stick up bombs all day long, and then you've got a Curry on the bench. Chandler Cunningham himself was not good, but I'd probably keep him on the bench again.
Yeah, you do want his physicality coming off, hitting the French forwards.
And maybe you could start with Tom Willis to have another heavy carrier and have Ben Earl off the bench. Probably. Maybe I probably would just keep Ben Earl.
I probably would, but maybe give Willis a bit longer.
I would probably put Ben Spencer on the bench to stick bombs up again. I think he's better at that than Randall.
Yeah.
So I would just go aerial all the way. People might not like it, but I'm thinking back to South Africa World Cup semi-final. Yeah. England nearly won that.
And I like winning, and I think that is probably the best shot England have of winning. I'd love to be in the ground if that happened. And then on Sunday, Scotland, Ireland. Now, I don't think I think Scotland are just a little bit underpowered up front
I agree.
to trouble this Ireland team. I think Scotland can trouble England. I think Scotland will beat England. I just can't. Scotland can't really trouble France or Ireland or South Africa. They're just not quite there.
The Scotland-South Africa game from the World Cup is seared into my brain.
Yes.
As to what happens when Scotland try and mix it with big teams.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bad things happen.
Yes. Exactly. There you go. And in the Tier 2 Six Nations this year...
we've got news, haven't we? Spain are one game away from a World Cup.
They are.
Because of the multiple year qualification.
And all they need to do all they need to do is beat Switzerland.
I think they need to beat Switzerland. Who had a game this weekend, didn't they? So let's check the form on Switzerland.
So Switzerland travelled to Tbilisi, where there's only 3,500 people watching, but Georgia put 110 points on Switzerland
now
and conceded 0.
For those of you who follow Spain, like we try and do every now and again, Belgium had a result before they went to play Spain. Spain, the heavy favourites. Belgium, the heavy underdogs. I think Belgium lost something like 60 points the week before to someone completely unfancied. And then, remarkably, managed to beat Spain.
Yes.
In a situation we still don't really understand to this day.
And
we do, because there was
Romania qualified for the World Cup as a result, didn't they?
Correct.
And the referee for that game was...
Vlad. I remember that. I want to say Ioniucic or something like that. So,
and there was
a Romanian,
and there was something like, I think it was about 26 or 28 penalties against Spain in that game.
I have got credible reports that referee was bragging that it was going to be okay to the Romanian team in the bar that we frequented in Bucharest, right, because the owner of the bar called me and told me exactly that, and then, right, to prove he was there, sent me a picture of his business card.
Oh. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Unreal.
So some big scores this week. Georgia hammered Switzerland. Spain hammered Netherlands, which puts them one step closer to qualification. Romania hammered Germany. And Portugal, less of a hammering, but handily beat Belgium.
Yeah, and we had an invite to go to Spain. Holland this weekend. I nearly went, I nearly went. Umming and ahhing in the last minute. I said, no, I'm just not going to do it.
In one of our favourite stadia.
Such a good stadium. And thank you for the invite. I very much appreciate it. We will do it again sometime.
Definitely.
All done? Any more for any more?
One more.
Yeah, go on.
Judgment match. Glossop RFC versus Morley RFC. Regional 2 North East. 14th of October 2023. This is the Rugby Football Union disciplinary hearing at Newark RFC.
That's right, they had to go a long way for this.
Decision. So I'll read the decision and then I'll read some excerpts from the report.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Just full disclosure, the DOR of Glossop at the time
great guy.
Is a great guy and a very good friend of mine now. So, yes, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So the panel, this is the decision, the panel found that in the balance of probability, the behaviour of Glossop RFC spectators in the game was not acceptable, constituted referee abuse, and caused the match referee to submit an RFU match official abuse form and abandon the game. In the evidence, so this is notes from the match cut and pasted from the referee's report, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because this is 3 pages long.
No, I'm only going to. It's not funny. I know I'm going to laugh in advance. Okay, so please.
I am only going to read the direct quotes. This is direct quotes of Glossop spectators taken from the referee's report. Quote: "You are the worst ref we've ever had." End quote. Quote: "Get a fucking grip, ref." Quote: "You're a load of shit, ref."
Ooh.
Quote: "You're a fucking disgrace. You're a prick. You're a bloody disgrace." The referee told the spectator to be quiet. Who are you telling to be quiet?
I wonder if beer was involved in this.
We are only losing this game because of this ref.
Oh, no.
So
spectators.
It's one of those things, right? Now, it's not good, okay? And I respect and like refs as much as the next guy. I'm a big fan of refs. I do think the ref abuse thing is almost a self-fulfilling prophecy now. Like, the more you talk about it, the more it happens. It's kind of like the story of anorexia in Japan. It had no history at all in Japan until some Western idiots came over and started spreading awareness about anorexia, and then all of a sudden it just caught fire.
What I'd say on this, as it's spectators, I think, and it's all coming back to me now, the conversation I've had with people connected with this, is saying, yeah, fair enough, it was bang out of order, but surely the RFU want to facilitate rugby being played, and the biggest thing is that you go, that you've got some bad apples there that aren't on the pitch.
Well,
sort them out.
I've been to Glossop, right? I've played there many times, and last time I played there against a team who were not going to be getting promoted because they'd already got a massive points deduction, and it was rammed, and it was great. And sometimes crowds get a little bit noisy, and yes, it's not comfortable for the referee. A lot of me thinks with these things, grow up. I know it's not comfortable, but
no, I think the ref's well within his rights, and the club needs to take care of that. If that's happening, the ref needs, the club needs to take care of that.
If you want big, excitable crowds, right? And I'm not saying it should be like football.
There won't be any of that at Twickenham this weekend.
No, of course not. It will just be the utmost. No,
there'll be people going every time, ref. Every time.
Of course, I will. And I will say things which I would never say it's a ref.
Tarquin, another beer.
Yeah. I'll never criticise a ref, okay, because it doesn't get me to where I want to be.
Yeah.
Okay. But I understand people do, and if you want people to really care about the sport and have these tasty games and local rivalries, just grow up a bit, right? At some point you should be like, it's a privilege to ref those games, and it is. And I know it might be a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. That is the way of the world. That is where the world grows up.
I think it's good that we can disagree on that.
No, we can't disagree on that.
I think we agree.
I'm right, you are wrong.
I think we can agree that Glossop, the whole club, shouldn't have been penalised.
Of course not.
Straight away.
Of course not.
Yeah.
So what was there anything more from that?
Well, the they got a 15-point ban, a 15-point deduction, and a £50 fine.
£50?
£50.
£50?
Costs £50 fee to the club.
What?
Hardly seems worth it.
Yeah, yeah. What? 15 points. 15 points isn't insurmountable, but it's not the.
That was someone at the hearing using it like a cash machine.
Yeah.
Like, can I have cash back?
That final quote, we're only losing this game because of the ref, that was actually the Glossop number 10 who got a yellow card for that.
What was the Glossop number 10's name?
It's not him. I'll ask him tomorrow if it was him.
Is it Liam McGovern, the number 10 for Glossop?
It doesn't say on the form.
Oh.
What, your coach now
at
Didsbury?
Yeah. So our coach is the excellent set of Glossop.
I'm available all of a sudden, lads. Anyone?
Yeah. And one of our coaches, is their DO, and they're both tremendous boys and added an enormous amount to the club. But yeah, it'd be quite funny if it is, because then I'll read it to him when I'll read it to him on Tuesday.
Yellow card.
Quite right.
There we go.
Yeah. Right, I think we're done.
We are done.
Beautiful.
We're done. Patreon.com/EggChasers for more content. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com. Let the boys play, let the boys end.
The new Boost Mobile network is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month for life.
That sounds like a threat.
Then how do you think we should say it?
Unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month for the rest of your life?
I don't know.
Until your ultimate demise.
What if we just say forever?
Okay.
$25 a month, forever.
Get unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month with Boost Mobile forever.
After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Glad ForceFlex Max Strength now has bags with a 2-time stronger top for over-the-top strength. Like the kind of over-the-top strength you need when, Bill, breaks your bowl of buffalo chicken dip. Glad ForceFlex Max Strength. Strong enough for all of life's garbage. 2-time stronger top versus 13-gallon ForceFlex bags.